Last summer, in case you don't recall, I was yours and you were mine for. Get it all. Is there a line that I could write sad enough to make you cry? All the lines you wrote to me were lies. Months rolled past the love that you struck dead. Did you love me only in my head? The things you said and did to me seem to come so easily. The love I thought I'd won, you'd give free. Whispers at the bus stop, I thought about nights out in schoolyard. Found out about you. Found out about you. Rumors follow everywhere you go. Like when you left and I was the last to know. You're famous now, there is no doubt. All the places you hang out know your name and they know what you're about. Whispers at the bus stop, I thought about nights out in schoolyard. Found out about you. Found out about you. Whispers at the bus stop, I thought about nights out in schoolyard. Found out about you. Found out about you.
This goes out to all the women in the world, especially her. You know it don't even matter your age, don't even matter your color. Yo, fellas, I ain't forget about y'all. This is for everybody that like to dance. Just listen to what I'm saying and do it and take a chance. I put my hand up on your hip. When I dip, you dip, we dip. You put your hand up on my hip. When you dip, I dip, we dip. I put my hand up on your hip. When I dip, you dip, we dip. You put yours and then I put mine. Then we can dip down low and roll and grind. Just get on the floor like I said before. Y'all remember that down low? Just put a little dip with it. Now roll those hips with it. Pop it, push it, rock it, roll it. Can't control it, I come hold it. It's all in fun, so take a chance. Just get on the floor and do that dance, y'all. I know you like it, so don't try to fight it. Turn around, baby, let me see you from the back. Yeah, I like it like that. Get up now, roll those hips. Drop down, double up on those dips. Freak nasty, wanna see, can y'all do it right? I put my hand up on your hip. When I dip, you dip, we dip. You put your hand up on my hip. When you dip, I dip, we dip. I put my hand up on your hip. When I dip, you dip, we dip. You put yours, then I put mine. Then we can dip down low and roll and grind. Back again with the second verse. It's all clean, so I'm not gonna curse. Drop the bass like a bad habit. Love all women, cause I gotta have it. Coming at y'all in stereo. I'm riding that thing like a rodeo. Hang on, baby, cause the ride is rough, and I got my girls in the front. Now and later, just bumping that rump. Raise it up, let me see that brown. Slap it, girl, make it jiggle around. Round and round that rump goes. Where it stop, yo, no one knows, yeah. Freak nasty, wanna see, can y'all do this right? I put
All right, Chad, how we all doing? How's everybody doing tonight? Oh, Lordy, we got a long ass fucking stream tonight. Because I intend to go through this whole fucking thing. So, Tucker had an interview with Ted Cruz that he posted live today. And we're going to sit here and go over the whole fucking thing because I think it's important. I think it's fucking important. I don't know. I don't have an audience. Who gives a shit what I do? But you know what? 20 years from now, when this is blown up in our fucking country's face, I just want to let it be known. Let it be known that I sat here and said, you know, no, this is a bad fucking idea. Last night, before this even went live today, and a lot of the neocon, Con Inc., whatever you want to call it, media is doing damage control today. Last night, Tucker teased this interview with a little clip that went viral. 90-second clip in which he asked Ted Cruz, he goes, so what is the population of Iran? And Cruz is like, I don't know. And he goes, well, shouldn't you know that? Shouldn't you know things about this country? You want to fucking invade and topple? And, why do I need to know that? Well, what's the ethnic, what's the ethnic makeup of Iran? I don't know. These are just gotcha questions. And of course, it made him look like a fucking idiot. And one of the shitty memes that the warmongers had put out was, and Ted Cruz even posted it himself, was this AI fucking soy garbage. Or it's like, what is the population of the Death Star? First of all, it would be more accurate if he was asking, I don't know, whatever the guy that, General something, whatever, what's the population of Alderaan would be a more appropriate question for this meme. But Star Wars is gay, Ted Cruz, and you're fucking gay for using this. All right? You should know things about countries you want to invade. How about that? Especially as a senator. You're not a fucking average citizen with an opinion. You're a senator who gets to vote on these things, Ted. You should know it. Chad says I put the PAL version of Mad God on my wish list. Put the American version. I'll correct that then, dude. You know what? We'll go ahead and correct that. In fact, right now, to make sure no one accidentally does buy that, I'm going to actually go ahead and delete that off my fucking wish list, and I'll put the other version on. I'll do it after this stream. But right away, because I did not know I did that. That was a mistake. Oh shit! Somebody bought. Oh no! Somebody bought it. It's not on here anymore. Fuck. Shit. Purchased. Shit. Doesn't say anywhere it's the PAL. It just says Blu-ray. It just says Blu-ray. It will not play on most Blu-rays, so... Oh, fuck. Okay, whoever did this, cancel it if you can. I apologize, man. That was my fucking mistake. That was my mistake. Fucking hell. Oh, I apologize, man. I think it's the only one. It's the only one that came up. It was the only listing. Shit. All right, whoever got it, please go ahead and cancel your order. Shit. That sucks, man. That was my bad. Oh, man, I'm sorry. Fucking hell. Chris Barrett says they didn't. I accidentally removed it somehow. You know what you did? I bet I know what you did. So, if you put it in your cart, it probably got removed. as long as it's in your cart. Or whatever. If anybody did buy it for me, I apologize. You know, it. Yeah, if here's the thing, man. As soon as you take it out of your cart, it'll probably pop back up into my wish list. I'm glad you caught that. Thank you. That's on me, man. I apologize for that. Well, you know what? Let me see. Okay, if I'll filter by purchased. All right. Okay, I deleted it. I went into purchased and deleted it off there. So when you take it out of your cart, it will probably just revert back. Or it won't revert back onto my list, I don't think. Well, I'm glad you caught that, man. I apologize for that. I'll change that when we get. I'll change that after the stream, and that'll be a little while from now because I have a feeling this is going to be a long one. Chat. Chad says, I can't fathom why Trump would even be considering a strike against Iran. No thanks. Here's my thought. I think Trump's backed himself into a corner. What I hope will happen, and I think this is our best case scenario from this point forward, is that peace talks resume, and this all gets resolved in a way where Trump can save face. Because Trump is doubling down, because Trump is an arrogant dickhead. Look, I voted for the man 3 times. And I don't even regret it, because, I mean, what was our other option? Vote for Kamala so we can have fucking brat girl summer and more gay porn in schools? Like, come on. But I voted for the man 3 times. I generally like him. I generally like what he's done. Certainly what he says he'll do. He is an arrogant fucking prick. Like, I'm not blind to the man's faults. So the only way out of this is a way that he can save face. You can't just throw in its face, hey, Tulsi said this. A reporter tried to do that. He goes, well, I don't care what she said. So it's like, and that's assuming the best. That's assuming that, you know, Elon wasn't right and they don't have video of him fucking an 8-year-old at Epstein's Island. I don't think that's the case, but it would certainly explain the last couple weeks. I just don't think it would explain the several years prior. But I think that's our best case. This is bad. Trump ran. I don't believe this is popular with the American people in general. Like, I saw this bullshit in 2003 with the Iraq War. These exact same fucking arguments, by the way. You know. And I knew then it was stupid. Even though I was like 20, I knew it was stupid. Because I just don't fall for patriotism bullshit. I don't fall for the root for the home team horse shit. I never have. I'm a contrarian, and I am a loner, and I'm skeptical of authority, arguably to a fault, but those are things that are true about me. So rah, 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 aren't you mad that people you never met died in a questionable fucking terrorist activity in New York that had nothing to do with this nation, so we should attack Iraq, was never going to work on me. The emotional appeals were never going to work on me. A lot of other people aren't like that, and it worked on a lot of other people. I don't think it's working on the people this time. Thomas Crown says, it's a tough situation. Israel is pretty determined to either cripple or wipe out Iran's nuclear program. And they aren't interested in seeing if sanctions will get it done or waiting for the UN to act. I'm going to be honest with you. I think Iran should get a nuke. You want to pass to peace? You want to calm that region down? I think it happens if Iran gets a nuke. I think if there's a real counterbalance to Israel's fucking power in that region. Because, look, Israel could wipe out every man, woman, and child in Iran tomorrow, and it will not sate Israel's bloodlust. Okay? They will turn their attention elsewhere. They are every bit the genocidal maniacs, theocratic maniacs that we make Iran out to be. You know? The religious ones think that, you know, they should kill everyone because God says so, and the atheistic ones think they should kill everyone because they're just genetically superior or some horseshit. Like, they're maniacs. The people that run Israel are maniacs, okay? Benjamin Netanyahu is a fucking maniac. Like, they're trash. They're every bit as trash as any of the Muslim nations. Ideally, I wish Israel didn't have nukes. You know, that's technology they stole from us and they were never held to account. But whatever, we're going to watch the Tucker interview with Cruz. And, oh boy. Let's get into Windows Capture. I'm watching it on X for the simple fact that, I mean, in some ways it would be better to watch it on YouTube, but I just don't want to deal with the fucking ads. Maybe we can go playback speed. Yeah, let's increase the playback speed a little bit because we're going to be here a while. 1.25 should be fine.
Senator, thank you very much for spending the time to have this conversation.
It's going to be a little fast, guys, but we got to deal with it because we're gonna be here 3 hours otherwise. I want to go through all this. I think it's important, and hopefully I get lots of super chats for it. Send them super chats, Goy. Chat says, by the way, Chris Barrett in the chat said that the Mad God Blu-ray is only $12 for the proper format one. I'll take a look tonight. Yes, I'm glad you didn't buy that. I apologize. That was... I swear it was the only one that came up, though. But I'll figure it out tonight.
It's good to be with you. So you've come out for regime change in Iran, as distinct just from taking out the nuclear sites. What does regime change look like in Iran? Somebody else in charge.
Because that worked out great in Iraq.
How do you get there?
Look, that ultimately has to be a popular uprising from the people. And it's not a complicated...
And that, again, worked out great every other time we've done it. Remember, the neocon position is that this Iran conflict, it's like World War II and it's like Star Wars also. So apparently it's gay and overrated. But it's not at all like the dozen or so other times they did this exact same fucking shit that it blew up in our face. It's not like that at all. This is way different. It's like Star Wars and World War II instead.
Question. Is America better off with a country that has a leader who hates us and wants to kill us, or to have a country with a leader who likes us and wants to be friends with us? And
definitely the latter's better.
Of course.
Yeah.
And so that's not a complicated statement. Look, I believe you look across the world when you have countries that have dictators that are viciously...
Why does Iran hate us? I think that's a question worth asking. If somebody hates your fucking guts, maybe it's because they're just a shithead. Or maybe you did something to them. Okay? You know, we constantly hear, well, we have to help Israel because they chant death to America and death to Israel. But here's my question. Would they be chanting death to America if we weren't Israel's fucking pay pig and bodyguard? I don't think so.
Anti-America. Venezuela, Maduro hates us. Would we be better off with Maduro out of power? Absolutely. I want our enemies out of power, and I want our friends in power.
I could not agree more. The question is, how do you get there?
Of course.
We've been trying to kill Maduro for quite some time. We have troops there.
I don't know that we've been trying to kill Maduro.
Yeah, we have.
Oh.
And
I love this. I love what he's like. No, we haven't been doing any of that. What are you talking about? We didn't. CIA hasn't been doing all sorts of shit and trying to do stuff. What are you talking about? None of that happened. No, none of that happened.
I think you know that. And
I don't know that.
Okay, well, as a statement of fact.
Chat says commentary on an hour video. Somebody must have paid up for. No. Again, I think this is important. And to be clear, this is commentary on a 2-hour video. We're going to be here a fucking while. I hope that you will all send me super chats because I need the fucking money. Chat says Reagan was making ridiculous Star Wars analogies decades before the blue hairs. Star Wars and its consequences has been a disaster for the human race. Okay. By the way, I just saw something. This is from the Hollywood Reporter. We probably won't look into it tonight, but I'll try and find the article for next time I stream. Some Star Wars fans were shown a very rare screening of the original theatrical cut of Star Wars. Remember, you can't even buy that shit anymore. And these are younger Star Wars fans. These are people that grew up with the prequels at the oldest. You know what I mean? And they were like, ew, these are just sets that people are photographed in front of. And it was just so funny to me because it's like, if you've ever seen behind the scenes of the prequels, it's amazing. Like there are no sets. There's almost no props. It's the actors in costume. They're literally sitting on like green screen covered chairs and shit in the Jedi Council meeting. It's so pathetic. Like, no wonder those look like shit. And these people that have like just been raised on this just pure CGI horse shit, when they actually see real actors in real sets and practical effects, their fucking soy brains can't even process it. It's just too much for them. What is this? This looks like the icky outside that mommy never let me go out into.
We have. So
we do have massive sanctions. We try to pressure him out of office.
yeah,
I'm
there's all kinds
not
of
aware
stuff.
of that.
I'm just saying there's a lot of pressure coming from various parts of the U.S. government on that government, and it's still there.
Yeah.
Same, the country of our ancestors, Cuba, 1959, we've been working on that. Hasn't worked. So it's we both agree it's hard to do.
It absolutely is hard. And look, I think you're reasonable to ask, how do we produce that? And I think there's a distinction between what your objective is and the means to get it. There are all sorts.
Am I not screen sharing? Yeah, I'm screen sharing. Okay. All right. Good. Oh, okay. I was looking at my live feed, but it's a little bit behind. Okay, yeah, I'm screen sharing. All right. Chat says, I think Ted Cruz can kiss his future ambitions for presidency goodbye after this interview. I mean, if there's any justice in the world, he wouldn't be reelected again. I mean, like, he should be laughed out of public life after this. Like, he got his shit pushed in. We're gonna watch all this. He gets his shit pushed in. Now I know I'm biased. I know I'm obviously on Tucker's side in this, but I'd like to think I'm reasonably fair. And if like Tucker was dropping the ball, I would be mad at Tucker. You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing, man? You should be like, Ted Cruz looks like a fool in this numerous times. And to me, that really proves how stupid all this is, because Ted Cruz is one of the best debaters in the Republican Party. Certainly, it's holding office now. He is not a stupid man. I question his morality and all after this, but he's not a stupid man. And Tucker eviscerates him and shows how poorly thought out most of his positions are on this. I think Tucker makes him look like an absolute fucking fool. Again, I'm biased, sure. I think these are foolish positions. I'm inclined to think you're a fool if you're stating them. But I really don't think Cruz can. I think subjectively, Cruz didn't call. If you were on the fence, I don't think anything about this made you team Cruz. Made you team, let's go topple Iran.
Things I would say we would be better off. We'd be better off in China without Xi there. Should we invade China and topple Xi? Of course not.
Better off with no national debt.
There are lots of things.
Yeah, how about that?
But it's good to say, all right, what are our objectives?
Right.
And so with the Ayatollah in Iran, saying you're for regime change, I don't view as complicated. I mean, the guy literally leads mobs chanting death to America.
And why does he do that, Ted? Why does he do that? Is it just... Does he hate our freedom, Ted? Is that what it is? Does he hate our freedom? Oh, I bet he hates our freedom. Or maybe there's another reason. Maybe there's another thing we're doing, or several other things we're doing, where it's very logical for them to not like us. I don't know.
So that's not good.
Definitely not good. But the reason I think it's important to get a little more detailed about how that might happen is because there's military action in progress, which we're supporting. And the president has said clearly, including last night, that he is focused on eliminating the capacity of the Iranian government
Yep.
to produce nuclear weapons. You are saying we need to use military force to effect regime change.
I have not said that.
Oh, I must have
No,
missed
no,
what
I
you
have
said.
not said that once.
Okay.
I don't think we need to use military force to do regime change. I said
He will be contradicting that later, by the way.
I support it. I would like to see it happen. You asked me how should it happen.
I don't think we need to do it. I just want to do it. I'm sorry, did you just hear that? I don't think we need to do it, but I support it and I would like to see it happening. I don't think we need to wage war. I just want to. That's fucked up. You're never supposed to be having that position, Ted. War is something you're supposed to be doing reluctantly, and you don't want to do it, but you think it needs done.
A popular uprising. What I've advocated for. All right, let's step back a second. You and I, we've known each other a long time. I would say we agree on about 80% of the things on Earth.
For sure.
And there are a lot of things, and we can get into the nitty-gritty of foreign policy as much as you want. There are a lot of things on which you and I agree, not just a little bit, but violently.
I totally agree. I was rooting for you in your last campaign, for sure.
Well,
This is in Ted Cruz's office. Ted Cruz gets his shit pushed in his own office. God damn.
thank you. Look, you have been heroic on the border. You've been one of the clearest and best voices in the whole country on securing the border and on the absolute crisis we're facing. And in Texas, I see it and live it every day. In COVID, in fact, you may recall in the middle of the
it's such a weasel tactic. He's like, no, we're buddies. We're buddies. Come on. Stop. This is what all this is, by the way, chat, just so we're clear. He's buttering up Tucker's ass here because he wants to be like, Tucker, stop hitting me with these hardballs. Come on. Aren't we buddies? Aren't we buddies here? Like, come on, man. Like, already Tucker's come out hot. And Cruz is like, come on, man. I thought we were cool. That's what this is, by the way. I thought we were cool, bro.
COVID lockdown, I was out walking my dog when the whole world was shut down and we were living in lunatic times. And I called you and said, Tucker, your nightly monologues are the single best thing on television. Like I watch them like an injection of crack. Okay, I'm mixing my metaphor because you don't inject crack, but you get what I'm saying.
Try.
No, I mean, you were standing up and speaking like, what the hell are we doing, in a way that we desperately, desperately needed. And so whether it's securing the border, whether it's the insanity of COVID lockdowns and vaccine mandates, whether it is the Second Amendment or the First Amendment, you and I agree on a ton of stuff. The 20% where we disagree, I do think is meaningful. And it's mostly in the foreign policy space. And what I would say, if you'll allow me to get a little theoretical, and then I'm happy to get specific.
Yes.
For a long time.
Chat real quick. I see the spirit of John McCain took possession of him in that moment, saying we shouldn't go to war, but I want to anyway. Yeah, that's a great... I'm honestly surprised Tucker didn't catch on to that. Wait. We don't need to, but you want to? That's kind of fucked up.
And people had perceived...
And by the way, he does that a lot. Like, he didn't in this specific time. But there's plenty of times he's like, wow, that thing you just said is kind of fucked up or stupid. Like, he really gets a lot on this.
Two different poles of Republican foreign policy. There have been interventionists, and those have been people like John McCain and Lindsey Graham, George W. Bush. And there have been isolationists. And the most prominent of those have been Ron Paul and Rand Paul, and there are others. And people perceive those are the two choices. You got to be one or the other. I've always thought both were wrong. I don't agree with either one. The way
I like to just do the worst of both. Look, man, yeah, those are the two extremes. I think we should definitely lean towards non-interventionism. We should generally mind our own fucking business. Like, that's just a position I take. Like, I need a good reason to not do that. I'm not saying I will never not do that. Hell, I said recently, and I stand by it, I wouldn't be completely opposed to beating the fucking brakes off Mexico. We have a failed state right at our fucking border, run by drug cartels, well, run by a Jewish fucking figurehead that's owned by drug cartels. It's the only one they didn't kill. That's why she won. But run by drug cartels that's dumping a bunch of shit and a bunch of, has been, is trying to steal money from us through remittance, trying to invade us with waves of criminals, I would be perfectly fine. Again, depending on how we do it. Like, we have to be smart about shit. We have, I don't want to occupy and take them over. That makes the situation worse. But I would be perfectly fine with beating the fucking, like, that president of Mexico was down there running her mouth about how dare we tax our remittance. After all the shit that country's put us through in the last couple decades, how fucking dare her? I would be very happy with sending some Marines down there and proving a fucking point, to the point where the next president of Mexico dares not do that again. That's fine, because that's a country that's fucking with us, that we did not provoke, that we've been nothing but nice to, that frankly should be taught a fucking lesson about whose flag is on the moon. I'm okay with that. That's a lot different than let's get stuck in an Iranian quagmire because Israel wants us to, or let's provoke Russia for no fucking reason. Those are very different things. One of these would be in our interest, and we could do pretty easily with very few casualties on our side and probably not even a great deal of casualties on the other. Particularly if we targeted just the people in charge. That's another thing, by the way. This bullshit that we're not allowed to target leaders, I think, is bullshit. Okay? If anything, we need to go back to the old days where the king was leading the army. Because maybe then there'd be a lot less wars. If leaders actually feared for their own safety in the middle of a war, a lot less wars would be started. I guarantee it. Chat says, the irony is that interventionism is only feasible if we have a strong economy, national identity, and military. Do we have those, Ted? Well, we don't. We certainly don't have a strong military. It's kind of why I resist most fucking desires to restore our military, because our leaders have made it very clear that they don't know how to use it responsibly. We're going to be here a fucking while. My God, we're going to be here a fucking while. What is it? We're 30 minutes into this. We're 4 minutes into the video. It's going to be a long night. I should see some super chats, by the way, chat. Let's get them super chats going, okay? Okay, Goy? I expect $3 billion a year in super chats. Otherwise, you're bigoted towards grass types. All right? We are the only grass type nation in the Middle East, and you are bigoted towards grass types if you do not send me $3 billion a year in super chats. And we got a ways to go. We only got $5 last time, so that is not even close. So let's pick it up with the super chats, people.
I view my own foreign policy.
I'm with you, by the way, for whatever it's worth. I agree with you.
Okay, good.
I don't know who set up that binary, but there are lots of choices, actually.
I mean, people sort of naturally fall into, I think they want to classify people, and they're like, okay, you're one or the other, and you got to be all or nothing. And the interventionists, it seems, have never seen a country they didn't want to invade, and that doesn't make any sense to me. And the isolationists, I think, don't take the threats to America seriously, and I think that's naive, and it doesn't work. And so my view, I consider myself a third point on the triangle. And what I describe that as is that I am a non-interventionist hawk.
What I am is whatever Israel tells me to do. That's what I am.
Which sounds a little weird, but what do I mean by that? I mean the central touch point.
It's going all Cuomo on us. What do I mean by that?
For U.S. foreign policy and for any question of military intervention should be the vital national security interest of the United States. How does this make America safer? How does this protect Americans? If it does, we should be strong. And actually, another way of conceiving what I'm saying, I'm speaking theoretically, but Reagan referred to it as peace through strength. And actually, I think Donald Trump's foreign policy is very much what I'm describing, a non-interventionist hawk.
Yeah, it was until a couple weeks ago. It was until very recently, yes. For the most part, he ignored all the neocon voices telling him to start stupid shit.
Where he understands that, and I think this is historically true, the best way to avoid war is being strong. That weakness and isolationism, I think, encourages war. So going back to...
Isolationism has never encouraged war. If the United States brought all its fucking troops home and closed its border, we would be at war with no one, except those that attack us, and those that do would quickly figure out whose flag is on the moon and grow to regret it. Isolationism is primarily, first of all, it's not isolation. Non-interventionism is not isolationism. But non-interventionism is just not starting wars, which it does not lead to more wars. Actually, the fucking opposite.
Regime change, where you started in Iran.
So just to make, I don't think I disagree with anything you've said. So we may not be that far apart, really, because you said that the single criterion for making decisions about America's foreign policy is America's national interest.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah, which is also America first. That's another way of putting that
I
as
think
well.
it's the definition of it.
Yeah.
It's hardly breaking news. The U.S. dollar has been gravely devalued by Washington money printing. You print money out of thin air and the currency becomes weaker. You can purchase less with the same amount. The entire system is backed by nothing but the government's word. What is that worth? People around the world are beginning to ask. So one of the results of this is that a lot of people want to invest in crypto. Many don't know where to start. That's where iTrust Capital comes in. Their platform makes the crypto game smarter, easier, safer, and you can understand it. With iTrust Capital, you buy and sell crypto inside a tax-advantaged IRA. That means the same long-term tax benefits of a retirement account paired with the freedom to invest in digital assets. They also offer secure non-retirement accounts, use an airtight security system, and have real human beings, experts on call. If you ever need them, you just call up and you can talk to them in person. Creating an account is very simple. It takes just a few minutes. Click the link below or visit itrustcapital.com to start today.
The question is, are we watching that now?
So I think we are. And from what you've said publicly, I think on Iran in particular, you and I disagree. And all right, let me contrast it when Obama was president. When Obama was president, you remember he talked about wanting to have military action against Syria.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time,
I don't know why, but that's just, Tucker's so good at being. I would not want to debate Tucker. I think I'm pretty good at keeping my head level. I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good at doing what Tucker does, and that is just asking the right kind of questions, being a little snarky. Dissect. I'm pretty good at doing that. I'm pretty good at that. I would say better than your average person at just knowing how to push someone's buttons while still being on the surface very polite. I am nowhere near as good as Tucker. Okay, like I bow to Tucker. Like if I'm fucking Spider-Man of that, Tucker is fucking Superman. He's fucking Galactus. Okay, like. Like we're using nerd analogies. Ted Cruz broke out his fucking soy wars today. I get to break out my comic books. All right. I'm kind of good at that, but Tucker could blow me out of the water on that. I would not want to debate Tucker at all on anything. No, not even if I'm a fucking expert on it. No, man. Because he's gonna piss me off. He knows how to do it. Mm-hmm.
I tried to keep an open mind to it. I said, okay, let me listen to the commander-in-chief, describe to me how this is in America's interest.
So Obama wanted to bomb a bunch of people, and your first instinct is, let me keep an open mind and respect the commander-in-chief, instead of fuck what that commie faggot has to say. I feel like that's... See, again, this comes back to that conservative love of authority. Well, I better have an open mind to the guy who ran on... not wanting to bomb people has done a complete 180 and wants to bomb people. I better have an open mind to it.
And what your plan is. And Bashar Assad was a bad guy. He was killing his own citizens, and he had chemical weapons that were very dangerous. I could conceive of a commander-in-chief laying out a plan for, okay, we're going to go in and say, grab the chemical weapons and leave. Like, I could see that if there was a real threat.
Chat says Tucker should interview Ben Shapiro and pick him apart. Pick apart his bullshit in the same fashion and watch him melt down. Even Ben Shapiro would never do that, by the way. Ben Shapiro would never do that in a million fucking years. You couldn't offer him enough money. And that's saying something because, as you can imagine, Ben likes money. But no, Ben is not stupid enough to directly confront Tucker. I don't believe that for a moment. Like, that would be absolutely coughing baby versus nuclear weapon.
To America, and there was a plan to prevent that, I could see supporting that. So I wanted to hear what he had to say. And I listened both in classified briefings and public questioning. And number one, their public defense of it was incoherent. So John Kerry
Yeah, it usually is with these stupid wars. Like yours is of this one.
said, we're going to engage in an unbelievably small strike. I think that's a quote. I'm like, okay, and to do what? At the time, there were 9 major rebel Islamic groups in Syria. I'm like, okay, I agree, Bashar Assad's a bad guy. You topple him. And one of the 9 other groups takes over. 7 of them were affiliated with radical Islamic terrorism. You had Al-Qaeda and Al-Nusra. I'm like, wait, how is it better to have lunatics who hate us in charge? Assad's a bad guy, but I don't want worse guys in charge. Obama administration couldn't give an answer to that. And ultimately,
Tucker just giving him that look. Like, yeah, that's what you're doing now.
when you press them, John Kerry in particular, I pressed, and he would say, well, we need to defend international norms. Like, what the hell's an international norm? I don't know what it is, but I'm not interested in putting U.S. servicemen and women in harm's way to defend one.
Amen.
So I opposed the Syria attack and opposed it vocally. And it was interesting. Rand and I agreed. Rand's a friend of mine. But we agreed with that position for different.
All of this, by the way, is, see, I wasn't always for stupid wars, but I am for this one because reasons. And he's trying to be like, well, no, see, I have good reasons for this one. The problem is he never gives us the good reasons. And when he does, they're very easily picked apart.
Different reasons. What I was asking is I think the question we should ask, how does this make America safer? The Obama administration couldn't give me an answer, so I posed it. I think Iran is very different.
Let me ask what you think of how Syria wound up, because Bashar al-Assad now lives in Moscow.
Yeah.
He was taken out by our allies, and he's been replaced by a radical Islamist who was affiliated with ISIS. So is that a win or no?
Unclear. Look, Syria's a mess, so I've consistently opposed.
But we had a
Unclear. It's unclear as to whether completely destabilizing the region further for no gain might have been a bad idea. I don't know. I mean, maybe. You know, it could go either way, really.
secular leader in a religious and ethnically diverse country. Now we have a religious extremist, Islamic religious extremist, who's overseeing the purge of Christians and Alawites. Is that better? That doesn't seem like a win.
One of the things you said is he was taken out by our allies. I don't think that's right. Israel didn't take Assad out. What happened, and I'll tell you.
What about Turkey?
Turkey didn't take him out. So it was interesting. I had a long...
How did Assad get kicked out? Yeah.
When Netanyahu was in D.C. a couple of months ago, he and I sat down for a couple of hours. He's a good friend of mine.
I bet he is.
And we talked actually about Syria. He made an interesting point that I've not heard anywhere else, in that he said he believes what toppled Assad was when Israel took out Nasrallah. Nasrallah was the head of Hezbollah. And they took him out. And he made an interesting
Ted, of course, couldn't respond because he had Bibi's balls in his mouth.
point. He said it's fascinating how a charismatic leader, and Bibi said, look, Nasrallah was a very effective terrorist leader. And when they took him out, that power base was supporting Assad. And that ultimately, in Bibi's analysis, removed the support from Assad and toppled him. But they weren't trying to take out Assad. My view now, I don't know.
Wait, so you don't think that, and I don't, it is very confusing, and I don't know that anyone really knows all the details, but you don't think that Israel or Turkey or NATO ally Turkey played any role in toppling Assad?
I don't know. I don't know that they did. Look, my understanding of that, they clearly took out Nasrallah and Hezbollah. They've decimated Hezbollah, but Hezbollah was waging war on them. So decimating Hezbollah was very good for Israel and very good for America, too. I mean, Hezbollah hated us.
Why did they hate us? Let me ask you this, Ted. Do you think they would hate us if we didn't support Israel? Do you think any of this would be our problem? See, everyone says we have to be buddies with Israel. We have to be their pay pig because they help us fight all these enemies. But I have yet to be convinced that any of these would be our enemies if we weren't helping Israel. They're Israel's enemies, and they only become our enemies because we support Israel. But then because we support Israel, they're our enemies, and we need to support Israel to fight our enemies that wouldn't be our enemies if we weren't fucking supporting Israel. I'm tired of this fucking spiral and to just endlessly... We should be on fucking Mars right now. And we're not, because the greatest country that has ever existed, instead of putting more flags on the moon, has to babysit a bunch of savages as they bomb each other over who gets to own what 5,000-year-old pile of rocks. Enough. Like, enough. with it. I'm so tired of it.
I would put Assad in the category of an unintended consequence, and whether it's good or bad, I don't know. I think time will tell.
For the United States.
Yeah, for the United States.
Let me spoiler alert, Ted. It's gonna be bad. All right, it'll be bad. It'll be really, really bad for all the people over there, but it will be bad for us. Like, I don't know. Am I a genius? Am I psychic? I knew the Iraq War was bad, and most of the Republican Party didn't seem to know that, even down to the constituency. Maybe I'm just magically fucking psychic. I guess I should play. Why should I be begging for super chats? I should go buy a fucking Powerball ticket. Except I'm not. I'm not fucking magically psychic. It's just that it's fucking obvious.
I think time will tell the new leadership there. You're right to be concerned. Let me step back and let's talk regime change generally. I mentioned Syria. I also opposed the Iraq War. I think the Iraq War was a serious mistake. And we...
Did you? See, you weren't elected till 2012, by the way. So I don't know. I don't know anything about your record beforehand, okay? Like, well, I don't know what you were before you were a senator. Were you fucking dog catcher in Texas or an ambulance chasing lawyer? I don't know what the fuck you were up to. So I don't know that that's the case. You might have. I mean, none of you know for sure that I opposed it. You have to take my fucking word for it. I actually was writing articles on like fucking libertarian blogs and shit about the time, but they're long fucking gone. And even if they weren't, I don't fucking remember the name of them. I was fucking 20. What did I tell you? But I don't know. You're a liar, though, Ted. You lie numerous times in this fucking interview. So I don't know that I believe you on that. But even if you did, I'm going to say this. I hate to say this, because the Iraq War was so stupid, and there really is no fucking excuse for being for it. But I understand that America was caught in a fucking post 9/11 fever. And I understand conservatives in general are patriots, often to a fault. Patriotism isn't necessarily a virtue. I think, what was it? Oh God, what was Oscar Wilde? I think it was. That's the writer I was thinking of. Called Patriotism, the Last Virtue of the Vicious. Patriotism isn't always a good thing. It can be a bad thing. It's only as good as it's faith in your nation, and faith is only as good as the object it's being placed into. But conservatives, they fall for that kind of shit. They do. And in an immediately post 9/11 America, it was more excusable to be for the Iraq War. I hate to say that, because it really wasn't excusable at all. But to have been against the Iraq War and somehow for this Iran war, to me, is insane. That you were able to see through the Iraq War, but somehow you're okay with the Iran war. I don't know what could possess you to think that way, Ted. And I've watched this entire interview, and nothing you said made me understand what could possess you to think that way. Aside from a very sizable check from AIPAC, I guess. I don't know. But it's not okay.
Have a pattern, and going back to this binary of the interventionist and the isolationist. The interventionists advocate over and over again, there's a bad guy, there's a dictator who's doing bad things to his people, and they say, let's go topple him. And you have dictators in the Middle East who are killing radical Islamic terrorists. We come in and topple them. The radical Islamic terrorists take over, and they start killing Americans. And mind you, how the heck does that help us? Like, Saddam Hussein was a horrible human being. He murdered and tortured people. Unequivocally bad guy. But it got much worse after we toppled him. And you ended up having ISIS rise up.
And somehow that won't happen in Iran.
I mean, that was the cause of ISIS, was toppling Saddam Hussein. Same thing in Libya. You had Gaddafi, another horrible guy, that under Obama, we toppled him. and you ended up having radical Islamic warlords taking over. And
But this time will be different because raisins.
so and it's the question I asked in Syria. Okay, well, what's the plan? And how is this good or bad for the United States? And so I don't think with Iran, I view Iran as very different from Iraq.
But up to that point, you say we disagree. I don't hear really anything. I'm not quite sure what happened in Syria, but I don't know. So, right. But other than that, I don't hear anything I disagree with at all.
Yeah.
Sounds like we're in a complete agreement. I wonder, though, is there a successful regime change that the United States supported that you're aware of in the last 100 years?
Sure, defeating the Soviet Union and the Soviet Union collapsing, winning the Cold War. That was the most consequential step for U.S. national security interests of our lifetimes.
Yeah, but Ted, you constantly just say that Putin is just as bad. That you still want to fight Russia. So what really changed, at least according to you? You still think Russia's the worstest threat ever? You still want to fucking fight with Putin all the time? So what really was accomplished? Now, I don't think we need to be fucking enemies with Russia. And I think most of our being enemies with Russia is our fucking fault. Because we're fucking with them. But, like, according to you, who think that Putin is pure evil and we have to oppose him all the time, and we can't even let him sell his fucking oil to people, what changed? What did toppling the Soviet Union accomplish then? If we still have to just fight with Russia forever? Change their flag and their name? What does that do for us?
Okay.
And
so you would classify that as a regime change that we affected?
absolutely.
Okay.
Look, you and I are in my office. We're sitting next to a painting of Reagan in front of the Brandenburg Gate. And up top are the words, "Tear down this wall," in
Reagan is the reason California's blue. Fuck Reagan.
German, in the style of the graffiti.
Right.
And I think those are the most important words any leader has said in modern times. And if you look at how Reagan waged the Cold War, and Reagan is very much my model for how to, I actually think how Reagan took on the Soviet Union is exactly how we should take on China. Now, starting from the point, look, Reagan was not an interventionist. In 8 years, the biggest country Reagan ever invaded was Grenada. He was very reluctant to use U.S. military force.
He didn't respond after the 83 barracks bombings.
You're right.
They were,
He made the judgment that the risk exceeded the benefits. And that's a very rational decision to make. And it's reflected. Trump has made those same decisions where he is willing to use military force, but he very much asks, okay, is this good or bad for America? Does this endanger U.S. servicemen and women or not? And one of the points about the Cold War, look, nobody in their right mind wanted a shooting war between America and the Soviet Union. The two biggest nuclear powers on Earth firing bullets at each other is really unhealthy for human beings. Same thing is true with China. Nobody with any sense says, hey, let's go to war with China. That's really dumb, and a whole lot of people could die. But the Cold War showed we've got lots of tools short of sending the Marines to fight against a regime. And one of the most important tools is the bully pulpit. And so when I say I support regime change, I actually think just simply laying out what the Ayatollah does. And so I spend a lot of time, I speak to Iranian dissident groups. I speak out against human rights abuses. I think shining a light on the depravity of leaders is a really powerful tool that America has.
should we limit our activity to that?
It depends. Again,
because the U.S. government pays opposition groups, militarized opposition groups in Iran to overthrow the government. We've done it in a lot of different places, as you know. I'm not saying it's bad, but that's very different from what you're describing. You're saying we're making a moral case, as we did for 7 years with the Soviets. Our system works, yours doesn't.
Yep.
And I think we made a credible case for that, and we beat them over 70 years economically.
And that was a huge part of it.
Right. I think everyone would agree that was the main part of it. We didn't beat them in Vietnam, or North Korea.
The main part of it was tied to a military buildup. So I think it was two things.
We didn't beat them in North Korea. See, he can't fucking admit it. What a fucking neocon.
It was one, the clarity. So Reagan came in and he described the Soviet Union as an evil empire.
Right.
And all of the intelligentsia in D.C., all the Democrats, all the media, they're like, what a horrible thing to say. You can't say that. Reagan went to the United Kingdom and he said, Marxism, Leninism will end up on the ash heap of history. People were horrified. They asked him, all right, what's your strategy in the Cold War? He said, very simple. We win, they lose. And that was all viewed as sort of a Philistine simplicity. And I think it was exactly right. And laying that...
I don't really think Reagan had shit to do with the Soviet Union collapsing. Not really. I think the Soviet Union collapsed because they were built on horse shit. Like, communism doesn't fucking work. You know? I think Reagan was there when it collapsed. Like, it might have helped him. His big, strong words might have fucking helped, I guess. I don't know. But, like, it just sort of happened on his fucking watch. I think we give Reagan just used his mind bullets to fucking, no. He used his magic words. Fucking alakazam. He made pretty speeches by the wall and just, what bullshit magical thinking. The Soviet Union collapsed because it was a fucking garbage country run by morons in the worst fucking way it could be run. You understand? You know how many, like, the Soviet Union couldn't launch half of its nuclear subs because they didn't have enough toilet paper and other fucking supplies to just put men out to sea. Like,
out. Speaking.
no, it was just Reagan through sheer force of will. Just fucking used mind bullets to break the wall. Like, I'm so sick of this fucking conservative fantasy. No, the Soviet Union collapsed because communism had ran out of other people's money. All right?
Do you know the backstory behind the Berlin Wall speech?
Yeah, I do. Yes.
You probably know Peter Robinson, who
Of
was
course.
the speechwriter.
Yes.
So 3 times the State Department deleted those words from that speech. And 3 times Reagan wrote it back. And the State Department argued, they said, Mr. President, you can't say this. This is too bellicose. This is too provocative. And my favorite, they said, this is too unrealistic. The Berlin Wall will stand till the end of time. And Reagan said, look, this is the whole point of the speech. And less than 3 years after Reagan gave that speech, the Berlin Wall was torn to the ground. And it wasn't knocked down by American Army tanks. We didn't shoot missiles at it. It was shining truth and light that tore it down. It was.
The Berlin Wall was knocked down because it finally reached a point where the Soviet Union could no longer prevent people from knocking it down. And the people on both sides, primarily the Russians, started just taking fucking hammers to it. And the Soviet Union no longer had enough men to shoot them and stop them from doing it. The Soviet Union collapsed by its own hand. And frankly, I'm of the mindset that our Cold War probably kept them going longer than they otherwise would have. Because for the entire run of the Soviet Union, they could constantly tell their people, the reason you don't have food, the reason things are shit, is because evil big bad America is hurting us. And we just have to deal with them. We're blaming all these problems on them. They're fucking with us, and that's making it worse. And that kept a lot of people in the dark for a long time. We provided them the perfect propaganda fucking boogeyman to keep their people from realizing who the fuck was actually hurting them. And I think if they didn't have that, I don't know that they would have lasted 20 years after World War II. Before eventually they run out of men willing to shoot other men for these terrible ideas.
Also, rebuilding the American military. It was what was then pejoratively called Star Wars, where the Soviet Union, their economy couldn't match our military buildup, and it bankrupted them. That's an example of peace through strength.
I wonder, I mean, is there any...
Yeah, we outspent them. Okay, cool. But, we also gave them this, propaganda boogeyman that kept the people from rebelling. No, guys, you don't understand. Everything is shit because America is fucking with us.
Anybody who was alive in 1989 who wouldn't trade that America for the one we live in now? There's not one person, I don't think.
Oh, sure.
But I mean, just the basic metrics, debt, suicide rate, life expectancy. I wonder why after that victory, America didn't thrive in the way that we thought that it would, that I thought that it would. My family was involved in that. I mean, we were very focused on it in my house. We won. And I wonder 2 things. Why didn't the United States kind of declare victory and make some sort of arrangement with Russia that allowed mutual prosperity rather than continuing a Cold War? And second, I wonder...
Yeah, if it was such a great victory, why are we still fighting with them?
Why the United States didn't get a lot better. Like, why don't we have better infrastructure? Why don't we have fewer homeless? Why do we have all these drugs? Like, if we won, why does our country look like this? I walked across from Union Station this morning, as you do, I'm sure, every day. And all those people lying in the street and sleeping outside. It's like, what is that?
We're sorry to say it, but this is not a very safe country. Walk through Oakland or Philadelphia. Yeah, good luck. So most people, when they think about this, want to carry a firearm, and a lot of us do. The problem is there can be massive consequences for that. Ask Kyle Rittenhouse. Kyle Rittenhouse got off in the end, but he was innocent from the first moment. It was obvious once on video, and he was facing life in prison anyway. That's what the anti-gun movement will do. They'll throw you in prison for defending yourself with a firearm. And that's why a lot of Americans are turning to Byrna. It's a proudly American company. Byrna makes self-defense launchers that hundreds of law enforcement departments trust. They've sold over 600,000 pistols, mostly to private citizens who refuse to be empty-handed. These pistols, and I have one, fire rock-hard kinetic rounds or tear gas rounds and pepper projectiles, and they stop a threat from up to 60 feet away. There are no background checks, there are no waiting periods. Byrna can ship it directly to your door. You can't be arrested for defending yourself with a Byrna pistol. Visit Byrna, BYRNA.com, or your local sportsman's warehouse to get yours today. Byrna.com.
Look, there's no doubt there are really dangerous forces in our society. Some of it is politics and some of it is culture. And one of the mistakes people make in politics is thinking everything is politics. So the political answer, which I happen to believe, is we went much further down the road of liberalism. You look at Bill Clinton, who inherited the peace dividend of the Cold War being over, and moved us more to the left, and then Obama accelerated it a lot. And so there are lots of...
I agree.
Yeah, and remember when Obama and Clinton did the Patriot Act? Oh, wait, no, that was another guy. Wasn't liberalism... Not really, okay? Liberalism and conservatism, as they're currently described by the establishment, are just the things we're allowed to argue over while they sell us out. While we have endless wars and sell all our jobs to China and allow third world invaders into this country, we're allowed to argue over abortion and trannies. And that ain't what Trump went on. That's why Trump was such a threat to them. Trump went on, no, we're going to bring back our jobs. We're going to bring back our manufacturing. You know, we're not going to be dependent on China. We're going to kick the illegals out, and we're going to stop waging endless, stupid fucking wars.
Bad economic policies, but I also think they're cultural things. You know, the
But can I
loss
say,
of
I
faith,
agree with
the loss
all of
family.
that. I know what you're going to say, and I agree 100%. I bet there's not one word that I would disagree with. All I'm saying is, like, I think it's important to step back and ask.
But I actually think Russia has very little to do with it. So,
Well, that's kind of the point that I'm trying to make, which is, like, we're all sort of focused on beating our adversaries abroad, but what is victory worth if our own country becomes what it is now? And maybe we're spending a little too much time focused abroad and not enough time focused on the people sleeping outside Union Station.
So, look, I absolutely think we need to focus at home emphatically, and we need to focus on prosperity. We need to focus on reducing the debt, reducing spending, empowering people, low taxes, small businesses. American free enterprise. It's the most powerful force for fighting poverty the world has ever seen. I'm 1,000% there. I also recognize it is a dangerous world, and part of the responsibility of leaders, part of President Trump's responsibility, is to keep America safe. Let's go back to where we started.
But can I ask, you've been in the district a long time in D.C., so have I, and the city's way more dangerous, and Congress runs this city.
No, it's a complete crap hole.
So I'm saying, like, no Iranian's ever going to kill me, but I could get carjacked here.
Well,
and I just don't understand how the Congress could run this city and focus on the dangers of Iran when the city is like garbage. It's
Yes, exactly.
garbage.
But Congress doesn't run the city. We could.
Congress does run the city. It's in the Constitution.
It's in the Constitution, but they've given home rule, so it's a Democrat
You
mayor.
take it back. You control the Congress.
I'd vote for it, but it is a question of math.
Okay, but I'm just saying, like, why? How can people ignore? It's like if my own kids are drug addicts, but I'm focused on my neighbor's kids. It's like I'm neglecting my own kids, and there's a sense in which the Congress is neglecting the country that elected them in favor of this relentless focus on other people's problems. That's the way it feels as an American.
Look, there are lots of problems in America that we need to fix. Why is it?
So why are you talking about Iran then, Ted? Why are you fucking with Russia?
Is D.C. a pit? Because you have a mayor and a Democrat city council that won't let police officers arrest bad guys. And in every city you see across the country.
Okay, so Congress constitutionally controls D.C. So take back control. Enough. The Republicans control the House and the Senate. Do it. At least try to do it. Instead of trying to go to war with Iran.
Whether it's
whatever money we were going to spend going to war with Iran, what if we just, like, did something here with it? Anything here, really. What if we... For fuck's sake, I'd rather we do drag queen story hours with it. At least that's making jobs for some Americans. I'd rather do that at this point than let's just go fucking bomb Iran. Let's give Israel lots of money to cause wars that we have to help them fight.
York, whether it's Chicago, whether it's LA, whether it's San Francisco, if you have Democrats, we see the LA riots where they won't let people be arrested. All right.
Then why not work in regime change here?
I'm
Why
all
not
for
use
it.
the bully
I do.
pulpit?
What do you think I do every day? And
I've
you
never
do
seen a
too.
Republican senator stand up and say,
What do you think I do every day? I think you waste time with this faggot shit, like defending Israel.
I just walked to work this morning over people dying of drug ODs. We're going to shut this place down unless they fix it. They're mad about Putin. Like, what did Putin do to Washington? Nothing.
Look, in terms of regime change, let's talk this week. The riots in LA. I've made very clear that the cause of those riots are Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass. And when you elect communists who hate America, who stop law enforcement from arresting criminals, you get what you get on the street.
Amen. I agree.
My in-laws are Californians, and they're wonderful people. Heidi grew up on the Central Coast of California, and I remember I was texting with my mother-in-law, and I think I sent her a video of criminals going to a store and just looting in California. And her response, she said something like, well, this is really terrible. I wish we could. It's a shame we can't do anything about this. So yes, you can. Go in and arrest them.
By the way, all this California voted for it, not on the illegals. California voted numerous times to expel the illegals, and some Jewish lady judge fucking struck it down at one time, and some other judge the other time. So you can't even blame the fucking shithead lefties in California. There's some activist judge that did it.
Throw their butts in jail, put them in handcuffs,
100%.
and it stops.
Exactly.
And so we know how to fix these things, and
So then do it. Why are you doing this instead? Why are you doing 2003's greatest hits? I feel like I'm putting Pop 2K on my fucking satellite radio, and we're doing the countdown of 2003. Didn't we learn anything from that?
DC is I think DC voted, if I remember right, 92% Democrat. Democrat policies don't work, and they destroy every community that they are in charge of.
Then why don't Republicans assert their constitutional authority over the city? Don't they control the Congress?
Yes, I'd be all for it.
Who's against it? Do you think?
Susan Collins is really vocally against it. So on questions of home rule, so for example, let's take an issue you and I care a lot about, the COVID lockdowns. I had a couple of years ago in the middle of them. DC was proposing, the DC school district was proposing throwing out of school any child that was not vaccinated. And at the time, if I remember correctly, it was something like 40% of the African-American students in D.C. were not vaccinated. So we're talking about literally throwing out 40% of the kids at public school. And so I had a vote on the Senate floor to say, look, they can't throw kids.
Some of this I don't have any commentary on. I want to make sure I get all the good parts, so we're plowing through all this, chat. But some of this, whatever. I know, Tucker. It's like I know, Cruz. The COVID lockdowns were bad. Okay, none of that means we should invade Iran.
Kids out of school for this.
Iran didn't do the COVID lockdowns, so what are we talking about here?
And we ended up having a big argument, and part of the argument was home rule, where and Susan was the most vocal Republican that's like, no, we have to let D.C. run. And I'm like, why? Constitution gives us the power to do it. And it ended up, by the way, every single Democrat, all of them, voted in favor of the D.C. public schools being able to throw out 40% of the black kids from school. And I said, look, you throw a kid out of school, you got a 14, 15-year-old boy, you throw him out of school, you know what's going to happen next. He's going to join a gang, he's going to engage in crimes, he's going to engage in drugs. He could be dead within 5 years if that kid doesn't get an education. And the Democrats were more than happy to say, we don't care. Right now, our religion is get the vaccine or to hell with you.
But can you see, I mean, once again, I couldn't agree with you more, but can you feel the frustration of people, including your voters, every American, at the emphasis on foreign countries and the threat we supposedly face, a lot of which is fake, obviously, over the kind of slowly unfolding tragedy of what's happening to our country. The dollars spent, the aid packages to Ukraine to pay the retirement of civil servants in a country that we have nothing to do with, the endless support for Israel, very expensive, when people are literally buying groceries on credit in the United States. Can you feel like it's nothing against Ukraine or Israel or any other country?
All right, let's stop. You said the support for Israel very expensive. How much support do we give to Israel?
Well, you tell me. You vote for it.
Too fucking much. One goddamn penny is too much.
Yeah, it's about $3 billion a year is the military assistance.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not. $3 billion is the aid. That does not account for all the money spent waging wars for them and fighting for them and shooting fucking goat farmers for them. No, $3 billion is just the cash we're fucking handing them. It's just the money and weapons we're handing them. It's not the cost of our own blood and fucking treasure fighting for them. So $3 billion isn't even all of it.
Was that the only assistance?
And that's $3 billion a year, by the way. Of my money, of your money. And I don't know if you noticed, but shit is fucked out here. I don't have a lot of money right now. I haven't even got any super chats right now. So I could certainly use some of that fucking money myself. It's not their fucking money. It's too fucking much. Enough. That is one of the richest per capita nations in the planet. And we are their pay pig. Get fucked.
Yeah, we just have military assistance. Israel does not have additional assistance. There's an MOU.
That is a lie. Israel gets aid. That is a fact. Israel gets fucking financial aid from us. Like most countries do, by the way, and that needs to stop. But the only one I'm not allowed to question is fucking Israel. I go up in front of all the Republican senators and it's time to end financial aid to Timbuktu or whatever. To Egypt. To France. To Japan. To Saudi Arabia. And all of them clap like seals. And then I say Israel. And whoa, no, that's not okay. No, we have to give all... In fact, the money we save cutting off those other countries, we should give to Israel. Enough.
A memorandum of understanding, and it's $3 billion a year.
So what is it costing to support the bombing campaign to protect Israel right now from Iran?
So I don't know right now, but I'll tell you this.
But that's not included in the $3 billion, is it, Ted?
Go back to the touchstone on foreign policy, American interest. Our support, our military support for Israel is massively in America's national security interest.
What is it?
In what way? It's not. It's not. It's done nothing but drag us into wars that we didn't need to be in. I'm sorry, but the Mossad running a fucking blackmail campaign where they film all of our fucking leaders, fucking kids on Epstein's Island, isn't actually in our best interest.
It benefits us enormously.
This Iran war isn't in our best interest, and they're dragging us into that.
Well, before we can make independent judgments about whether or not that's true, and I'm certainly open to it, I think we need to know what it costs. So what's the annual cost of defending Israel? Do you know?
$3 billion a year.
No, that's the aid. But I mean,
yeah, that's the aid. What's the cost of defending them?
The cost of the weapons, for example, the cost of U.S. personnel there, the cost of moving ships to the region, which we're doing right now, the cost of moving tankers to the region, all of that. Do we know what the cost is?
So look, the last week, I don't know, and there's some lag when the administration, under the Constitution, the commander-in-chief has control of the armed forces, and so President Trump has made some decisions that we'll know the cost over time, but I don't know the last week. I don't have visibility on that. The annual cost is $3 billion. It's a 10-year memorandum of understanding, and that's the principal driver of the cost. But let me make a point. We get massive benefits from Israel. Israel shares the Mossad is one of the best intelligence sources on the planet. The enemies of Israel, the people who hate Israel, they all hate us.
Why is that, Ted? Here's the thing. They hate us because we're on Israel's side. So the only thing Israel's giving us is more enemies. And then they graciously allow us to fight alongside it. Fuck off with this. They all hate us too. Would they if we didn't? There would be no death to America chance if we weren't fucking defending Israel. If we were, and let's be real, Israel wouldn't exist without us. The only reason they have nukes is because they stole the information from us and we allowed it. You know, they wouldn't exist without our continued financial aid. I don't believe that they would. But whatever. If they do, they do. If they don't, they don't. That's their fucking problem. I don't give a fuck if they're pushed into the sea. They've done nothing for us. They've caused us nothing but grief and nothing but problems. Oh, they share. You see, they get us to fight their enemies for them, and sometimes they help us a little bit. Isn't that so fucking amazing of them?
It's almost a perfect overlap. And so if we tried to recreate, if we're just trying to defend America, we tried to recreate the national security benefits of our alliance with Israel, it would cost, I don't know, $30 billion, $300 billion.
So can you elaborate? And again, I'm going into this as someone who's always liked Israel and still does. But I also think at this point, given where we are, it's fair to ask rational questions about what the benefits are.
Good.
So does Mossad share all of its intelligence with us?
Oh, probably not, but they share a lot. We don't share all of our intelligence with them, but we share a lot. It's a close alliance.
Do they spy domestically in the United States?
Oh, they probably do, and we do as well. And friends and allies spy on each other. And I assume all of our allies spy on us.
And that's okay with you?
You know what? One of the things about being a conservative is that you're not naive and utopian. You don't think humans are all... Part of the reason socialism doesn't work is the mantra from each according to his abilities to each according to his needs
Ted.
doesn't work. As a
Ted,
conservative...
none of us are communists, okay? Stop with this fucking... Oh, my God. What a freeze frame. If you support Israel too much, do you become one? You support the Israelis too much? Is that just dark hair on the back of your head, or is that something else there, Ted? But no, none of us are commies, Ted. Knock it off with this shit. Okay? We pay Israel's bills. Do they use our money to spy on us? And if they do, why don't we just say, hey, you better cut that out, or you're not getting any more of our money? That's a fair question, Ted.
I assume people act in their rational self-interest.
So it's
why the free market
conservative
works.
to pay people to spy on you?
It's conservative to recognize that human
So it's conservative to pay people to spy on you?
beings act in their own self-interest, and every one of our friends spies on us. And I'm not...
Do you like it? That's my question. I'm not asking whether they have motive to do it. Of course they do. I understand that. And
by the way,
I'm not mad at them. But you're an American lawmaker, so I just want to know, hold on, I want to know your attitude. You said that your guiding principle, in fact, the only principle, the only criterion...
I said guiding, the overwhelming, I wouldn't say only.
Is it in America's interest? Is it in America's interest for Israel to spy on us, including on the president?
It is in America's interest to be closely allied with Israel because we get huge benefits for it. And you want to see the clear...
But I just want to stop on the spying for a second. That it takes place, as you know, and including on the president of the United States and several precedents. And I just want to know if that's okay and why is it okay? Wouldn't an American lawmaker say to a client state, you're not allowed to spy on us? I'm sorry. I know why you want to. I'm not mad at you, but you're not allowed to.
Sure.
And I don't care for it. I don't want to be spied on by you. Is that... It's kind of weird not to say that, but you don't seem able to say that.
Sure, I would say don't spy on us. They're going to anyway. And by the way, the Brits are, the Canadians are. Like, I don't think...
Well, I'm not for that at all. I think it's disgusting. But we don't actually pay their... You know, we're not their most meaningful sponsor.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, we okay, Israel spies on us, fine. Like, on one level, yeah, you can't stop that. Everyone knows spy on the other. On the other level, you could be like, hey, you better do what the fuck we say, or we're going to cut you off. Like, we're writing the check. We could actually make the rules with them. We could make Israel do what we say, or we cut off the money. Why don't we do that? That would probably lead to peace. If we said, hey, you're going to fucking behave.
We're not sort of paying for the operations of the British
government. I got to say, and this is, it's weird. We're talking about isolationists, the obsession with Israel. Why is Israel...
Well, I don't think I'm obsessed with Israel.
Okay, but I think a lot of people are.
I'm not... No. The obsession is on the other side, Ted. The obsession, and you'll say this here shortly, is that we just have to defend them because the Bible said so. The obsession's on your side. You're about to get us involved in a war just for their fucking benefit. I would love to never think of Israel again. Unfortunately, they own 99% of the Republicans and about 70% of the Democrats, and have driven my foreign policy for the last 50, 60, 70 fucking years. I'm not obsessed with them. I just don't want to be their bitch anymore. I'm tired of them running it up my ass.
And like the question, Israel spies on us. Well, so does every other country. Why are you mad at Israel?
I guess. No. I'm hardly the one who's. I've never taken money from the Israel lobby. Have you?
Taken money from the Israel...
From AIPAC.
So AIPAC raises a lot of money for me, but it's actually a misnomer because the people who raise money are individuals.
So yes.
So it's not the PAC itself, but they're individual members who believe in the American-Israeli friendship and relationship.
Is AIPAC a foreign lobby?
No, it's an American lobby. It's the AIPAC stands for the America-Israeli Political Action Committee.
What does it lobby for?
So, to be honest, not a whole lot effectively. Listen, I came into Congress 13 years ago
Yes.
with the stated intention of being the leading
Not a whole lot effectively. It's the most powerful lobby in the fucking country. Not just on the Republican side. On the Republican side, Thomas Massie is the only member of Congress, and I mean Congress, the House and the Senate, that doesn't have an AIPAC guy. And you may think, well, the Democrats are pretty anti-Israel. It's one of the few things that they get right. So you may think, well, they don't have a grip on the Democrat Party. One of AOC's squad, I want to say it was Cori Bush. I don't remember. They all fucking look alike to me. One of her brown and black sidekicks got primaried out this last election cycle. I think it was Cori Bush. I don't know. And you want to know the reason? Might have been Ayanna Presley. I don't know. The baldy. One of them. Who cares? Doesn't matter. One of the squad. She got primaried out because AIPAC threw shocking quantities of cash at primarying her out. So she wasn't primaried out for being anti-white or a fucking commie bitch or any of the other terrible things she fucking believes in. She was primaried out for, sadly, the one thing she was right on. So don't think they don't also have a tremendous amount of influence in the Democrats. Just not nearly as much as the Republicans.
defender of Israel in the United States Senate.
Great.
And I've worked every day to do that. AIPAC allows
I've worked every day to defend Israel. Our country's falling apart, Ted. And you worked every day to service Israel. You don't see where there's a problem there? I'm currently in a Twitter. I'm locked on Twitter right now. It was an automatic thing. I couldn't do anything about it. I couldn't even appeal it, apparently. But I got a 12-hour lock on Twitter, and they deleted my tweet because I responded to Ted Cruz about this shit, quoting him. Oh, yeah, I always suck Israel's dick, or whatever exactly. I quoted him exactly. I can't remember exactly what it was. But something about I always work hard for Israel. And I said, and I stand by this, a sane nation would hang you for treason. And I will say that right here. I don't care if I get my fucking channel deleted. I want to be clear. On the off chance you should hear this, Ted Cruz, the founding fathers would hang you for treason for this. Okay? They would tar and feather you. You should be hung for treason for your position on Israel. For your Israel first, for I service Israel while in the and not just Israel. Anybody that says this about any other country, Ukraine, fucking Palestinians, anybody who's got a foreign flag in their fucking bio and they're in the House and the Senate, you're a traitor. You should be hung for treason. All of your assets should be seized. I want your family penniless and in the gutter when this is over. All of your assets seized and liquidated by the United States government, and you hung for treason and then buried upside down in an unmarked grave. That is what should happen to anyone that swears allegiance to a foreign nation while they are a sitting fucking elected official. And I don't care if I lose my fucking channel over that. Based on what he says just in this fucking interview, Ted Cruz should be hung for treason. He should be tried and executed as a traitor to the United States of America. And every other politician that thinks the same fucking way and dares to say those things. A sane nation would hang you and punish your whole fucking bloodline and bury you upside down in an unmarked grave. A shallow one, too, so the fucking weeds and the dandelions have consumed your body in like 3 years and there ain't even anything left to detect. The ants and the worms have eaten you away. No one can even know you were there. It says label them as insurrectionists. Yes, exactly. I work every day for Israel. How fucking dare you? We should send you back to Canada, you faggot. And you should go seek their glorious health care.
A lot of times, AIPAC, I wish were much more effective. Like, there are
But
folks
hold
on
but what do they
online
do?
who are
I
the
thought they
fever
were-
swamp of terrified of AIPAC. And AIPAC,
I'm not terrified of AIPAC at all. You're the one who seems a little uncomfortable when I'm asking.
no,
this.
not uncomfortable.
I'm just
You're the one who seems a little uncomfortable.
asking what AIPAC does. My understanding, having known a lot of people
I
who
could
work
tell
for
you,
AIPAC,
I
is
deal
that
with
it
them all the time.
lobbies on behalf of the Israeli government.
Wrong.
Oh, okay.
It's,
America has thousands of colleges and universities, and a lot of them, unfortunately, are
That's
basically just scams. It's one
Yes.
No, I'm not gonna do a simple-
I want to get to the core question. AIPAC is lobbying for a foreign government, and I don't. It's not. It's
No.
lobbying.
No, it's just false. There are 4 lights, Ted.
For the United States.
it is lobbying for a strong U.S.-Israeli relationship.
Okay.
And
So it's not has nothing to do with the foreign government.
it wants America and Israel to be closely allied.
Okay, but it's lobbying on behalf of the interests of another country.
So that's not true at all. And if you,
not true.
No, and
How much contact do you think AIPAC leaders have with the government of Israel?
no idea. I
Any,
imagine
you think?
some. I think the government of Israel is often frustrated with AIPAC
Do you
because
think there's
AIPAC's
any?
not nearly strong enough.
Do you think there's any
They're
coordination
not
between the
strong
government of Israel and AIPAC?
Do they talk? Sure. If you're lobbying for more U.S.-Mexico trade, would you talk to people in the U.S. and Mexico and the government? Sure. Like if.
So I'm not mad about that. There are a million countries that lobby Washington. I like a lot of those countries, including
Okay,
Israel.
but AIPAC are Americans.
But
They're
hold
not
on,
Israelis.
hold on. There are tons of Americans who lobby on behalf of foreign governments. I know them. I'm related to some of them. I know how it works. I'm from here. So my question is not, is it outrageous that foreign governments lobby the United States? They all do, okay, including Israel. My only question is, why don't we admit that is what's happening? You're denying it, but it's true.
We're gonna take a little break here in a minute, chat. Once we kind of move on from this in the interview, I gotta take a little break, man. Been an hour and a half. My been sitting on my fat ass too much. I need to stretch my legs. Need to take a piss. So we're gonna take a break shortly.
True.
Yeah,
And
but
why
because
aren't
what
they?
you're saying is false.
Why aren't they registered
What
as
you're
a foreign
saying-
lobby?
Because they're not.
They're
Okay,
not a
But
foreign
they
lobby.
are. What are they lobbying for? What does the I in AIPAC stand for?
No, they're not. And this
Okay.
is that there's a fever swamp. Look,
It's not a fever swamp. These are very reasonable questions, and you've accused me of being obsessed with Israel, which I'm not,
I actually haven't. I've said
and of being
isolationists
feverish
are.
about it, which I'm not at all. I find it's a very tender spot when you ask it, and I don't know why.
So, Tucker, all right, let's go back.
All right, you know what? We're gonna take a little break, chat. We're gonna take a little break here. All right. So we're gonna put on some music. And we're gonna take a little break. Let's see if I can text. I know it's like a Medicare stream. I gotta take a little fucking break. Dying of the cancer AIDS. Is this all good? I don't know. Done, I guess. I don't know. Did it work? I was gonna put "Be Back Soon." I don't think I managed to do it. Oh, cool. Whatever. We'll have to work on that later. Okay, we're gonna put on some music. We're gonna put on some music, chat. And I'm gonna take a minute break or so. So we're gonna put on some music. Does anybody have any requests for music? I don't really care. I'm gonna put on whatever I want. Okay, let's see. What should we put on? Let's see. We got timestamps on this by chance? Here we go. All right, a little bit of music. I'm gonna take a piss, Stretch my legs. I'll be right back. It's been an hour and a half, and we ain't even halfway done. So we're in for a long night. Okay, I'll be back in a couple minutes, chat. All right, chat, we're back. We're back. Take a piss. Something to drink. Because we got a ways to fucking go. Hope you all enjoyed that killer music. It's from the Sonic 3 and Knuckles soundtrack. The best Sonic game ever to this day. We are only a little more than a fourth of the way fucking through. Oh my God, chat. It's gonna be a long night. But let's get back to it.
I was first elected to the Senate in 2012. I came in Obama's second term. And I actually saw AIPAC be badly wounded in a way they never came back from. And the
I wish.
second term is when Obama did the Iran nuclear deal. And the Iran nuclear deal, I think, was catastrophic.
In what way? It didn't do anything to me. Like, did no harm to me that Iran is allowed to have nuclear energy. I wish we had nuclear energy.
And AIPAC went all in lobbying against it.
Yeah.
And they failed. And I was the leading opponent of the Iran nuclear
Oh, I know. They definitely failed. Yes.
They failed. And what happened, the Obama White House told every Democrat, when I got here, there used to be real bipartisan support for Israel.
Yes, that is back when they lost control of the Democrats. There used to be, you're correct, Ted. Israel used to have a chokehold over both of our political parties. That's not a good thing, by the way. But you're correct. That is when they lost they no longer had complete control of the Democrats. Again, they still have quite a bit of power over the Democrats. Cori Bush lost her fucking seat because she dared to criticize Israel. Chat says Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman both primaried by AIPAC. Yeah, so it ain't like they have no power in the Democrat Party. But yeah, that's about when they lost control of the Democrat Party. And that's not a bad thing. I want them to lose control of the Republican Party.
That has largely disappeared. And it's the Obama nuclear deal that caused it, because the Obama White House told every Democrat, pick. You either stand with Israel or you're a Democrat and you stand with the Obama White House. And almost every single Democrat member of Congress said, I'm a Democrat first, to hell with Israel.
I cannot wait till a Republican president does that to the Republicans. I cannot. Maybe Vance will do it. I don't know. But hey, because the reality of that question is you either stand with America or Israel.
And then I watched as AIPAC, every one of those Democrats got reelected, and AIPAC did nothing about it. And it dramatically reduced AIPAC's influence.
I
It would
agree.
Be, it
I
would be
watched
as
it
if-
happen.
And by the way, I told AIPAC, I said, look, the analogy, if the NRA was supporting a bunch of politicians and cared about the Second Amendment, and you had politicians that vote to confiscate people's guns, and the NRA turned around and raised money for the people who voted to confiscate guns, you know what? No one would ever care what they said again.
So you're making the case that AIPAC is not as powerful as people say it is, and I completely agree with you. I've watched that, and I'm not making the case that AIPAC is all powerful and they're running everything and putting fluoride in the water. I'm not making that case at all, because that's not true. I'm only trying to get to the question of what AIPAC is, and I don't think you're being straightforward about it. AIPAC is lobbying on behalf of the interests of a foreign country, and they're not registered. And you're saying, no, that's not true. You're saying that they don't coordinate with the Israeli government.
Of course, I coordinate. Do they talk with them? I don't know what they do. I can
But
tell
why
you.
don't you care? Isn't it
Yeah.
meaningful if a foreign government...
Hey, I talk with Israel all the time. I talk
course you do. Of course you
foreign
do.
countries all the
Of
time.
course you do. That's part of the problem, asshole.
But the law is, and a lot of people have been prosecuted under this law, that if you are lobbying on behalf of foreign government, you must register. That's it. It's really simple. And I don't know why, if I'm working from Malaysia or Qatar or Belgium, and I'm...
It's a simple question. You know what? It's simple. Never mind that I don't care for them. If you are... the law says if you're lobbying for a foreign government, you have to register. So why doesn't AIPAC? Again, why does this one nation get special fucking treatment?
working on behalf of its government's interests through a group of Americans who are representing the friendship between those two nations. I have to register under the Foreign Agent Registration Act, and if I don't, I can go to jail. And people have gone to jail, including people I know.
Okay.
So I don't understand why we don't just be honest and say they're lobbying on behalf of foreign government, they're coordinating with the government. You know that that's true.
That is not only not true, that is false.
They're not coordinating with the Israeli government.
Do you know how AIPAC raises money?
What?
For elected officials, like what they do, like what the actual mechanics is?
I get it. I mean, they go to people who are sympathetic to Israel and raise money and then send it to candidates who agree with them.
So what they'll do is, in my last election, AIPAC endorsed me. And they'll host a fundraiser. And they'll host a fundraiser in Dallas or Houston or Atlanta.
And by the way, he just lays out how fundraisers work. And in no way does it disprove the fact that AIPAC is lobbying for a foreign government. What do you think the I stands for?
New York or LA. And they'll do a fundraiser and they'll get someone who'll host it. And it's usually a business owner, lawyer, doctor, someone who hosts it. And you'll get typically at an AIPAC fundraiser 30, 40, 50, maybe 100 people who live in that city,
Right.
Who care about a strong U.S.-Israel relationship.
Yeah.
And if they have, 50 people, each of them writes a $1,000 check, and you raise $50,000.
Yeah, I've been to an AIPAC fundraiser. I know what it looks like.
But that is not, and by the way, there's no representative of the Israeli government there. You have, when you're in Dallas,
This
you're
is
meeting
such a
with...
false and silly conversation. I know all this. The question is are AIPAC's goals shaped by the goals of the Israeli government to any extent?
Yes, they are. Again, if you had this exact same thing and it was Japan, the American-Japan pact, and they did the exact same things AIPAC did, and they weren't registered as lobbying for a foreign government, they would be arrested, Ted. Just because they had a chicken dinner for the fucking donors and the politicians shake it. In no way does that change what they're doing. And by the way, it's not even that you can't do it. It's that you have to register as foreign agents. That you are lobbying on behalf of a foreign government. You have to register that you're doing that. And this one doesn't. And somehow they're not lobbying for Israel, even though lobbying for Israel is literally in the butt-fucking name.
Okay, that's
a really
different
simple
from
question.
lobbying on behalf of.
It's a simple question. Are AIPAC's goals shaped by the goals of the Israeli government? And I'm just going to ask you a question straightforwardly. And if you say no, I think we both know that's not true.
Hey, are they shaped by?
Are they coordinating with the Israeli government?
Are they talking
to
with them?
represent
Yes.
the
Is
Israeli
Israel
government?
directing them? You want to talk about FARA, the law on lobbying on behalf of someone?
Yeah.
It is, I hire you and you lobby on behalf of me. I direct you. Does Israel direct AIPAC? No, they're not lobbying on behalf of them. Do they
Okay.
care
Yes, they
about them?
are.
Yes, but...
Or do you think that it's just interesting because what you're now describing in a
There's
very defensive way, I will
lights,
say,
Ted.
is foreign influence over our politics.
No.
And you began, and it's
No,
so transparently obvious to everybody. I don't know why you would be embarrassed of it. You've said that you are sincerely for Israel. I believe you. I don't think you have some weird agenda. You seem to be sincere.
By the way, Tucker, it's a very weird thing.
Yes, it is.
The obsession with Israel. When we're talking about foreign
It's
countries,
hardly an obsession.
You're not talking about Chinese. You're not talking about Japanese. You're not talking about the Brits. You're not.
But like the Chinese don't have this massive lobby. And if they did, it would have to register. Same with the British, same with the Japanese, the French, the Australians, whatever.
Talk about the French. The question, what about the Jews?
Senator,
What about the Jews?
Oh, I'm an anti-Semite now. Senator,
You're
you
asking the
you
questions,
just
Tucker.
told me.
What about the Jews? Oh, I mean, again, this is... Well, you're anti-Semite.
You're asking, why are the Jews controlling our foreign policy?
Senator,
That's what you just
I am
asked.
hardly saying that. And I have...
No one... Tucker didn't say that. And frankly, I'm not saying that either. Okay? I'm saying... I can't speak for Tucker, but I'll tell you what I'm saying here, Ted. I'm saying, why do the Israelis control our foreign policy? I never said the Jews do, okay? I don't believe that Jerry Seinfeld and Mel Brooks control our foreign policy. No one said the Jews. I said the Israelis. And the fact that the Israelis control our foreign policy, that they're, at the very least, that they control one of our two fucking political parties, and that they have no small amount of influence over the other, is an established fucking fact, Ted. And it is really weird, since we're talking about things that are weird, Ted, how no one is allowed to see that without you calling them a bigot. It's not bigotry. It's just an obvious, oh, you just hate the Jews. Yeah. Well, you know what, Ted? You're going to feel pretty silly when you see that I have every season of Seinfeld on DVD. No, I don't fucking hate the Jews. All right? I'm not fond of the fucking Israelis, I can tell you that much. But I don't hate the Jews in general. And I don't think the Jews in general are controlling things.
That is exactly what you just said.
Well, actually, I can
But
speak
you
for
know
myself.
what, Ted? Even if I did think the Jews in general are controlling things, I'm either right or I'm wrong. Calling me a name about it doesn't mean anything. I'm either right or I'm wrong. We can banter back and forth and you can call me a name, because I'll call you a name. You're a faggot cuck, Ted. And you're a Weasley rat man. And you know what? You're the Zodiac killer too. How about that? I believe that Ted Cruz will one day use an Israeli time machine to go back in time and be the Zodiac Killer. It's like a Terminator 1 thing. It's a time loop. And he actually gets the idea from us calling him the Zodiac Killer. I'm allowed to say all those things and believe all those things, okay? And I'm either right or I'm wrong. And it doesn't matter if I'm a bigot. I'm either right or I'm wrong. To quote an Israeli asset, facts don't care about your feelings.
And tell you what I am saying.
Good.
On behalf not simply of myself, but of my many Jewish friends who would have the same questions, which is to what extent, and it's interesting you're trying to derail my questions by calling me an anti-Semite, which you are.
I did not.
Of course you are. And rather than be honorable enough to say it right to my face, you are in a sleazy, feline way implying it, or just asking questions about the Jews. I'm not asking questions about the Jews. There's nothing to do with Jews or Judaism. It has to do with foreign government.
Isn't Israel controlling our foreign policy? That's not about the Jews.
You said,
No,
I'm
it's not.
And by the way,
asking
you're
you,
the one that just called me, I think, a sleazy feline. So let's be
it's
clear.
sleazy to imply that
Not every Jew is a Zionist, Ted. Oddly enough, not every Zionist is a Jew. I don't even understand how that happens, but it does. Not every rectangle is a square, but every square is a rectangle.
I'm an anti-Semite, which you just did.
No, I just said, why is that the only question you're asking? You answer it. Give me another reason. If you're not an anti-Semite, give me another reason why the obsession is Israel.
I am in no sense obsessed with Israel. We are on the brink of war with Iran, and so these are valid questions.
But
you're not
Israel's
asking about
about
If I can finish, you asked me why I'm obsessed with Israel.
Yep.
3 minutes after telling me that when you first ran for Congress, you elucidated one of your main goals, which is to defend Israel.
Yes.
I love that. He's like, yes, all that is true. I am a hypocrite and a faggot and a cuck. Again, anyone running for Senate and saying one of their main goals is to promote the interests of a foreign country should be executed for treason.
And I'm the one who's obsessed with Israel. I don't see a lawmaker's job as defending the interests of a foreign government, period. Any government, including the ones that my ancestors come from. So that's my position. That does not make me an anti-Semite. And shame on you for suggesting otherwise. And I mean that. And that's low, and you know it's low. So why don't you just answer my questions
I'll
in a
answer any
straightforward,
question you'd
rational
like.
way? You certainly
Well, that would be nice. It would. When does that start, Ted?
have the IQ to do it. So
Shame on you is cute, by the way, Tucker.
it is. It's not cute. I'm offended. I'm obsessed with the Jews. You just told me
You
that
just called me a
ran-
sleazy feline.
It is sleazy to imply that I'm an anti-Semite for asking questions about how my government
You
is
want to
run.
count how many questions you asked about? What about the Jews? What about Israel? What about
I
AIPAC?
never asked about the Jews.
He never asked about the Jews. He asked about the Israel. He asked, why are we kissing Israel's ass?
This has nothing to do with the Jews, whatever that means. This has to do with a foreign government. And once again, shame on you for conflating the two.
Again, this is why this interview is so great. This is why I'm covering the whole fucking thing. And it's a slog. I get it. Whatever. Send me super chats. Pay me a lot of super chats to stop if you want it to stop. Whatever. This is important. And part of why Tucker's so good at this is Tucker used to be one of these faggot neocons. And their entire shtick is to never answer the questions. It's to call you names. And Ted does all this shit. You're an anti-Semite. You're a liberal. You're a puppet of Putin. He does all this gay shit throughout this. But they don't call you wrong. Okay? It's emotional manipulation to try to be like, no. It is wrong of you to ask these questions. Not only do I not have an answer for this, or in fact, because I don't have an answer for this, it is my position to try to make you feel that it is wrong to ask these questions. It is not wrong to ask, does the Israeli government have a great deal of influence over our government? And if so, why do we allow that? That doesn't mean you hate the Jews. I don't want Saudi Arabia to have too much influence over, and frankly, they do have too much influence over our government, but I don't want them to. I don't want the French to have too much influence over our government, or the Canadians, or the Mexicans, and frankly, they have too much interest over, they have too much influence over our government, or the Chinese, and they also have too much influence over our government, or the Australians, or the Japanese, or the Koreans, North or fucking South, whatever, or the Vietnamese, or any other fucking people on this planet. And again, even the countries that my ancestors come from. I don't want the Germans, or the English, or the French, or the Irish to have too much fucking influence, or any real influence over this government. Their flags aren't on the moon. We should be influencing them. We should be telling them what the fuck to do.
They have nothing to do with each other. I'm talking about the influence
Israel
of
and Jews have nothing to do with each other?
All Jews, or an attack on all Jews, which I am not, nor would I ever be undertaking. Now, I'm not attacking anybody.
By the way, that's who Iran wants to kill, is all the Jews and all the Americans.
And I'm totally opposed to that, okay? But now, because
Except you don't want to do
specific
anything about it.
decisions need to be made.
We can talk about those decisions.
And I plan to.
Good.
But I just want to get a sense of whether you think, having described yourself as an America First person whose only criterion for judgment on foreign policy is America's national interest, to what extent you're influenced by a foreign government, which gives you a lot of money through its lobby, and you're claiming this has nothing to do with the foreign government. They're not coordinating. Yes, they're spying on us, but it doesn't bother you. And I'm sort of wondering, like, what is this? This is one of the weirdest conversations I've ever had.
I'll tell you what, and I'll answer any question you like, but let's try to...
Are you going to call me an anti-Semite again or no?
Let's try to ratchet down the temperature a little.
You're the one who went to motive. I'm asking honest questions.
I'm
just asking questions. Yes, that's it. That is what I'm doing.
Let's try to ratchet down the temperature a little bit.
Okay. Picture the house of your dreams. Maybe it's got an outdoor pool, a huge front porch, an inviting...
Let me just be clear about what I think.
Give you money. If you pick the other side, that's fine. We'll just go to the other side and shake down that. That's a...
And to switch to America's company, wireless from Pure Talk.
And did you ever see an Eddie Murphy movie called The Distinguished Gentleman?
No.
It's a great movie. It's actually a fun comedy about politics. And Eddie Murphy in the movie is a con man who gets elected to Congress. And he's literally a con
Well, I can see why you'd like it.
man who... The congressman dies, he has the same name, and so he runs and they get elected. And there's a scene in the movie where Eddie Murphy is a freshman member of Congress, and he's sitting down with a sleazy lobbyist. And he's asking the lobbyist, all right, what should my positions be on, I think they were talking about power plants and electrical transmission lines. And the lobbyist's like, well, what do you believe? And Eddie Murphy's comment said, I don't care, whatever gets me the most money. I'll do whatever gets me the most money. And the lobbyist says, no, pick a side. Doesn't matter what you pick. If you pick one side, we'll go shake down everyone who supports that side and they'll give you money. If you pick the other side, that's fine. We'll just go to the other side and shake down that. That's a little bit the way it works. And you often get...
What a fucking admission. Yeah, you see, I just picked a side and I just shake... Ted, do you think this makes you look good? Look at the look on Tucker's face. Like, what is this nigga saying to me? Is he fucking serious right now?
Get leftists in the media who say, for example, if you support the Second Amendment, as you do and I do, well, you're just bought and paid for by the NRA. And that actually is backwards. I believe in the Second Amendment because I believe in the Constitution. Now, am I proud that the NRA supports me? Sure, because people who care about the Second Amendment want to support leaders who fight for it. But it gets it backward. Look, AIPAC, when I ran for the Senate, AIPAC didn't support me. I supported Israel before they supported me. I'm happy to have their support because they share my objective.
No, but you're missing it. I'm not suggesting that you're bought and paid for. I'm not saying that. I want to go back and take sincere.
I want to go back and take the transcript because you just said a minute ago, I'm slightly paraphrasing, but are you lobbying for a foreign government because they pay you a lot of money? That's basically what you said. So you are suggesting.
Okay, Ted, you know what? I don't really care why you're lobbying for a foreign government. I don't want you to do it. Okay? Now, if your defense here is, well, it's not because I'm bought and paid for. It's not because they bribed me. It's just because I'm that much of a faggot cuck that I want to put another nation's interests ahead of my own. Okay? It's like, you're that much of a cuck. It's like, look, I wasn't playing the cuck in a cuck porn because they paid me. I was just a happy bonus. I was just doing it for the love of the game. That's a quote from Ted Cruz right there. I just really, really love watching Israel fuck my country. And yeah, they give me some money to do it. But I tell you, I would be in the corner pulling my little pud to it anyways. Because I just really, really love watching our soldiers die for their interests. I really, really love watching them spend our money. It's so good, it gets my nipples fucking hard. Like Barney Frank, my nipples are protruding very disrespectfully for Israel. That's okay, fine, Ted, but that's not better. It's arguably worse. I would understand it more if you were paid off.
Let me just be clear about what I think. Your views seem totally sincere.
Yes.
You take money from people who agree with you.
Yeah.
I believe that. I
take money from people who disagree with me.
I'm only trying to get to the question of, to what extent is the U.S. government influenced by other governments? And it's a lot.
Of course.
It's hardly just Israel. It's hardly just Israel. I don't think Israel's the main one. There are lots of governments. China is a massive influence on the city.
And it's a huge problem.
As you know, I couldn't agree more. And there are lots of other. The UK, which is a truly sinister place, in my opinion, as a ethnic Brit. I can say. I think that's my view. Maybe you disagree.
I think they're on the wrong path. I love
Whatever,
the Brits, but their government
without
has
even
gone
getting
off the
into
rails.
that. I'm just saying I don't think Israel's the only one. But it's the only one where you're instantly called an anti-Semite for asking questions. And it's also the only government that no one will ever criticize. And I
People
find
criticize Israel every minute of every day. Like the only government that people will not criticize, Rashida Tlaib just tweeted out calling Benjamin Netanyahu a war criminal.
Rashida Tlaib?
Well, she wasn't wrong, but also who cares? He's talking about it. You know what he's talking about, Ted. He's talking about on the Republican side. Yes, AIPAC doesn't have quite a stranglehold on the Democrat Party as they used to. They still have probably most of them. As we talked about earlier, they still primaried out some people recently over this shit. But yeah, they don't have the chokehold on the Democrat Party they once did. They still have it on the Republican Party, and you know that's what Tucker's talking about.
But no,
You said no one will criticize.
No, I'm talking about Republicans that I would vote for, including you.
Yes, that's what he meant. You knew that, Ted.
And I'm saying, whatever. I don't even like talking about Israel. What I care about, I never do because it's not worth being called anti-Semites from AIPAC recipients. But now...
what a snarky thing there. God, I love Tucker. I love Tucker. He's so good at cutting you. He's so good. God, with it. He's so good at it.
Now we're on the verge of joining a war, and I just want to be clear about why we're doing this.
All right, so, and let's get into Iran momentarily, but you suggested it was a strange thing that I said a minute ago, that when I came into the Senate, I resolved that I was going to be the leading defender of Israel. And what you didn't ask is why, so let me tell you why.
No, you said I was obsessed with Israel, and you had just told me that, like, your driving motive to get to the Senate was to defend Israel. I'm like, I don't think I'm the one who's obsessed with Israel.
Okay,
I don't even think about Israel.
Tucker, words matter.
Uh-huh.
And you know that. I said I resolved to be the leading defender of Israel, and you said your driving motive, the reason you're in the Senate.
You should not be resolving to be the leading defender of a foreign nation as a sitting elected official. And I don't even care what foreign nation it is. You shouldn't be doing it. As far as I'm concerned, it's treason and you should be hung. That's my opinion, Ted. A sane nation, for what you're saying right now, would hang you. The founding fathers would hang you for this. They wouldn't think twice about it. You would have been challenged to a duel at best. Enough. All right?
You want to be the leading defender of Israel. I would think if I ran for Senate, I'd be like, there are people dying of drug abuse on the street.
My driving motive is to fight for Texas and America, and to fight for jobs, and to fight.
And how does sucking Benjamin Netanyahu's dick do that?
For the Constitution. And you played a very, very careful word game of a lie to
You're
you.
the one who said it, not me.
So you still haven't asked why, but I'm going to tell you why.
Please do.
Okay.
And the reason is twofold. Number one, as a Christian, growing up in Sunday school, I was taught from the Bible, those who bless Israel will be blessed. And
Okay, Tucker's gonna, you know what, I'll let Tucker do it, and then I'll dissect them too.
those who curse Israel will be cursed. And from my perspective, I want to be on the blessing side of things.
Of those who bless the government of Israel?
Those who bless Israel is what it says. It doesn't say the government of it, it says the nation of Israel. So that's in the Bible. As a Christian, I believe that.
Where is that?
I can find it to you. I don't have the scripture off the tip of my... You pull out the phone and use the...
It's in Genesis. But so you're quoting a Bible phrase. You don't have context for it. You don't know where in the Bible it is, but that's like your theology?
Okay, so I love that. So you're quoting a Bible verse, you don't know where it is, and you don't have context for it, but that's your theology. I love that. Now let's tear about the theology of it. That is in Genesis, by the way. Now, if you've read the Bible, and I have, I'll be generous and assume Ted has. I believe Tucker has. You may remember that in the New Testament, there was this little 3-day weekend that happened, right? We typically celebrate it as Easter. You know, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, right? It was a Friday, very eventful. Saturday, not so much. Things were a little calm. Not a lot popping off that Saturday. But then Sunday, some more big shit going down, right? I don't want to spoil it for you if you haven't read it. But a pretty big thing happened there, right? Now that thing was a bit of a paradigm shift. No Christian, for most of the church's history, would be interpreting that verse in Genesis as to applying to the Jews, certainly not to a modern state of Israel. Wolfland sins, oh, you're still alive. Oh, we got a ways to go, man. We ain't even we're not halfway done. It's gonna be a long fucking night. So Ted Cruz is saying that, first of all, we're not a theocracy. Okay, we're not supposed to be governed by how Ted Cruz interprets the Bible, especially when it's a way that no Christian, not almost. You probably couldn't 100 years ago. You probably couldn't find a single living Christian on the planet who would have interpreted it that way. But somehow, and by the way, 100 years ago, we're still in the modern world, by the way. We're in the 1920s. People had lights. People listened to the radio, okay? I'm not talking about, primitive times and we were beating rocks together. I'm talking about 1925. Not one living Christian would have probably interpreted it that way. Certainly not the majority. 1,000 years ago, certainly not one living Christian would have Ted Cruz's interpretation of what Christians supposedly owe the Jews who have rejected Jesus Christ. I'm sorry, but God, according to Christianity, some of you in the chat don't believe in Christianity. That's fine. I mean, it's not really, I would suggest you do. But that's your affair. I'll put it that way. But if you do believe in Christianity, then God's chosen people are those who are saved through receiving the redemptive work of Jesus Christ. And those people can be of any nation, tongue, or tribe. Just happen to be born an ethnic Jew does not grant you any special fucking bullshit. And maybe God has some particular plan for the Jewish people in the end times. I believe there's a reason he's never allowed the Jewish people to go extinct, even though they've been fucking asking for it numerous times. I believe that there's a reason he always keeps a remnant of the Jewish people alive. Because I believe he will, at some point, call the church home, and then he'll deal with them, and then he'll draw the curtain on human history. That's what I believe will happen. I don't think that's happening tomorrow. Probably not. That could be 10,000 years from now, by the way. But no, Christians don't owe Jews any more than they owe any other lost person. You owe them a certain amount of kindness and respect because they're your fellow man, as you owe any human being on this planet made in the image of God. That doesn't mean that you have to suck their dick. It doesn't mean that you are called to be subservient to a foreign government that isn't even a particularly good one. John Steele says, did you get a job yet? Do you think I'd be covering Tucker for two hours plus if I did? No, I don't have a job right now. You should send me super chats. Hopefully making a little money tonight. I don't know. But yeah, Tucker's good to point out, so you're basing our foreign policy off of a Bible verse and you don't even know where the Bible verse is. That's time and time again, and Ted Cruz is not a stupid man, but time and time again, Tucker makes Ted Cruz look stupid and uneducated, and he's neither one of those things. But to me, that just kind of goes to show you how indefensible these positions are. Ted Cruz is a smart man. He generally knows his shit. He still very much was not prepared for even the tiniest bit of pushback on these issues. Certainly wasn't prepared for it coming from the right. If this had been a Democrat, he could call him a commie, and half of his fucking arguments are, you're a commie. Or call him an anti-Semite or whatever, and he's not prepared for someone that just doesn't work on. Someone that just washes right off their back. No, I'm neither one of those things, and you know I'm neither one of those things. That's how indefensible this shit is. We've been going on for over 2 hours, by the way, chat. This is quality content you're getting here. Streamlabs.com/TheBeckloff. PayPal.me/TheBeckloff. Come on, let's send some super chats. Putting on a good show here tonight.
Confused. What does that even mean?
Tucker.
I'm a Christian. I want to know what you're talking about.
Okay. Where
He's so snarky. I love it. What are you talking about?
where does my support for Israel come from? Number one, because biblically we're commanded to support Israel. But number two,
Hold on.
We're not. We're not, by the way. First of all, that applies to the. First of all, that doesn't apply to the modern state of Israel. It doesn't. And even if it did, blessing them isn't the same as you have to be subservient. God didn't say everyone has to kiss your ass regardless of your behavior. He never fucking said that. It's not what he said. It's not what he meant.
Hold on. You're a senator, and now you're throwing out theology, and I am a Christian, and I am allowed to weigh in on this. We are commanded as Christians to support the government of Israel?
We are commanded to support Israel. And we're
What does that
told,
mean, Israel?
We're told those who bless Israel will be blessed.
But what? Hold on. Define Israel. This is important. Are you kidding? This is a majority Christian country.
Define Israel? Do you not know what Israel is? That would be the country you've asked like 49 questions about.
So that's what Genesis. That's what God is talking about.
The nation of Israel, yes.
So is that the current borders?
So what exactly did that commandment mean 100 years ago, Ted? 100 years ago from today. June 18th, 1925. What did that commandment, what were Christians expected to do about that commandment? Because I got news for you, Ted. The nation of Israel didn't fucking exist. It was a little place called Palestine. That's a place you like to pretend didn't exist.
Current leadership. He's talking about the political entity called Israel.
He's talking about the nation of Israel. Yeah, nations exist, and he's discussing a nation. A nation was the people of Israel.
Is the nation
They're the
God's
descendants of
referring
Abraham.
to in Genesis, is that the same as the country run by Benjamin Netanyahu right now?
Yes.
It is. Okay.
And by the way, it's not run by Benjamin Netanyahu as a dictator. It's a
I'm not
democratic
saying he's a
country that
dictator.
elected.
He's the prime minister.
Right.
What?
But just like, America is the country run by Donald Trump. No, actually, the American people elected Donald Trump. The same principle
This is
there.
silly. I'm talking about the political entity of modern Israel.
I love how much he dismisses this fucking bullshit smoke screen that Ted loves to put up. This is silly. You know what I'm saying, Ted?
Yes, and that is
You
that is
believe
Israel.
that's what God was talking about
Yes.
in Genesis.
I do, but
That country's existed since when?
for thousands of years. Now there was a time when it didn't exist, and then it was recreated just over 70
But
years ago.
I'm saying, I think most people understand that line in Genesis to refer to the Jewish people, God's chosen people.
That's not what it says.
Okay, Israel, but you don't even know where in the Bible it is. So I don't know if we can.
I don't remember the scriptural
Okay, you're an expert on. I love what a dick he is. You're an expert on this verse, Ted, but you don't know where in the Bible it is.
citation. But
I don't know, chat. I feel like if I was an elected official who based a large chunk of my fucking positions off of a single out of context Bible verse, I would probably be able to fucking tell you where that verse is.
okay,
It's like Genesis.
You know, I wasn't raised in a church. I didn't do the sword drills. I remember verses and I don't remember where they are a lot. But if it was one I was constantly using to win fucking arguments, I would probably memorize where the fuck it was.
16 or something like that. But yes, it's in the earlier part of the book. But the point is,
All right, Tucker, you keep
it's a little
interrupting me
weird.
before I
No,
finish
it's
my
just
sentence.
important to know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're. So you're saying, as a Christian, if I believe in Jesus, I have to support the modern state of Israel.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm explaining for
That's
me
exactly what you
my
said.
motivation is.
But okay, so I'm just trying to understand. You said God tells you to support the modern state of Israel in the Bible, in some place in the Bible that you heard about, but you don't know where it is. That's your theology.
You're going back.
He's such a dick to him. Oh my God, Ted. Like, how mad do you think Ted is at this point? Like, look at the look on his face. If only you knew how bad things really are. Like, okay, so God told you in the Bible, God told you to support the modern state of Israel. It's somewhere in the Bible, but you don't know where it is, but you heard about it. Just look at Ted. Look at fucking. Look at him. Oh man. Oh, see, I think the rest of this stream will be a little bit more fun for me because this is the part where Tucker really starts to just beat the shit out of this man. So God told you to protect the modern state of Israel. It's somewhere in the Bible. You don't know where, but you heard about it somewhere. Oh. If that isn't just that's just a brilliant indictment of the entire. God told you to protect Israel. You know, because you saw it in a Kirk Cameron movie. point, you know, Ted is like, this is not going well. Oh boy. I better get on Twitter after this and make gay fucking Star Wars memes about it. That'll turn it around. Some faggy AI generated Soy Wars memes will surely turn it around. Oh, there's so many, like Babylon Bees doing fucking, trying to run interference on this. So many people are trying to do damage control on this, but goddamn, Ted, you look like a fucking fool. The Bible says I have to support Israel. Where does it say that? I don't know. Because he's never gotten pushback on it. He's never gotten pushback on it from this direct. He's either gotten like lefties. They're like, well, I don't care about what the Bible says. I don't believe in that. I'm a Wiccan or whatever dumb shit over on MS. I'm a feminist Wiccan over on MSNBC. Let Rachel Maddow, like, I don't believe in your Bible because it tells me not to munch box. He's used to that. He's not used to somebody that is a professing Christian saying, where does it say that? He's likely never been asked that in his fucking life. He's never been hit from this side. And he doesn't know what to do.
Am I a sleazy feline again? I mean,
If you accuse me of anti-Semitism again, I will say that, but I don't think you will.
Try to be a little less condescending.
I don't think you will.
I'm trying to have a conversation.
Condescending. You're throwing this stuff out, and it's my job to figure out what you're talking about.
Okay,
but I don't understand.
But you're not letting me.
Okay. I'm sorry. I want to be polite.
I love it. I love what Tucker gives you that look like. Okay. So the Bible verse, you don't know where it is. It tells you to worship Israel.
That is, for me, a personal motivation. But I also, what I was about to say, I don't believe my personal faith, not everyone who I represent is a Christian. It's not an argument for me to give that we should do this because of my faith. And so as an elected official, I don't give that as the reason we should support Israel. That is a personal motivation for me, but I don't think it is the reason we should. The reason that I'm the leading defender of Israel is because Israel is our strongest ally in the Middle East, an incredibly troubled part of the world, and supporting Israel benefits America. And the clear...
Why is it troubled, Ted? Was it troubled before they got there?
clearest illustration of that is what is happening right now. Let me just make this point, and then...
Okay.
Then,
And then I'll just ask what you mean. That's it.
okay.
Yeah.
Look, Iran, I think the most acute national security threat facing America right
I'll just
now
ask what you mean.
is the threat of a nuclear Iran. I think China is the biggest long-term threat, but acute and near-term is a nuclear Iran.
Okay.
And
I want to be clear. I think a nuclear Iran would be good. I'm now officially of that position. I think that, I mean, the best thing that could happen, and I don't know how you could possibly make it happen, but the best thing that could happen is if we just confiscate. If we go to Israel and say, look, we'll continue to support you, but we demand that you let us confiscate your nuclear program. If Iran can't have one, you can't have one. How about that? That would be the best case scenario, I think, for making peace in that region. The second best case scenario is Iran gets a nuke. You have one, they have one. Now there's finally a counterbalance to your power. Now you have to either sit down and shut up and fucking play nice, or just kill each other. I don't care at this point. Glass the whole fucking region. I don't care at this point. Either way, we're done dealing with it. So yeah, I actually genuinely believe the region would stabilize if Iran had a nuke. If Iran and Israel were both just pointing nukes at each other, I think shit would calm down.
I think Israel is doing a massive favor to America right now by trying to take out Iran's nuclear.
By what? Letting us fight they're not our enemies. They are only our enemies to the extent that we support Israel. So what? Instead of making us fight their enemies, for once Israel is fighting its own enemies, and that's somehow a favor to us?
Capacity. And the reason I view Iran differently. We talked before about Iraq. I posed the Iraq war. We talked about Syria. I posed military intervention in Syria. The reason for that is those did not pose a threat to the United States. I think Iran is markedly different. Number one, the Ayatollah is a religious zealot. He is a lunatic, but a particularly dangerous kind of lunatic because he's driven by religious fervor. When he says death to America and death to Israel, I believe him. And I think Iran is trying to get a nuclear weapon because there is a very real possibility they would use a nuclear weapon. So you want to ask, how does supporting Israel benefit us? Right now, this tiny little country, the size of the state of New Jersey, is fighting our enemies for us and taking out their top military leadership and trying to...
They are only our enemies because we support Israel. No, what is happening, and I realize that it's weird because it doesn't usually happen this way, Ted, but usually they make us fight their enemies for us. And for once, they're actually doing it. Ted, you are so pussy whipped by Israel. It's like Israel is your findom, Ted. And for once, she's buying her own lunch, and you consider that a fucking favor. That's how much of a cuck you are, Ted. Like, well, when my wife went and fucked Tyrone and Chad, for once she bought her own lingerie. She didn't make me buy it for her. Wow, what a great Valentine's Day present. Ted, you're such a faggot cuck.
Take out their nuclear capacity. That makes America much safer.
So the president has said repeatedly Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon,
Yes.
and he will do whatever it takes to stop Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. He said that like 100 times. He clearly means it. I think he will use force to effect that if he feels he has to. I think he's been really clear about that. I don't know, but it seems that way. Do you feel it? Do you think that's correct?
Whether he would use force to stop a nuclear weapon, I think he has put that option on the
He
table.
certainly suggests. I mean, I have literally
He's
no
put
idea
that
what's
option
going to
on the
happen, but just reading his statements, he's made that really clear.
So what he has been very clear about, and I spoke with the president on Sunday, is he has been very clear to Iran that if they attack U.S. servicemen and women,
Of
there will
course,
be real
that goes without
consequences and I think very serious military
By the way, this is a sidebar, but I just can't resist. The Prime Minister of Israel said that Iran tried to assassinate Donald Trump twice.
Yeah, I read your newsletter this morning, and
But do you believe that's true?
again, I think it was sort of a word game. What is true is Iran is trying to assassinate Donald J. Trump, and they have hired hitmen. Now, you pointed out...
No,
So Iran, by the way, this is what we're going to get into here. Israel lied. Israel claimed that Iran is behind the two assassination attempts on Trump. There's not a shred of fucking evidence for that they had anything to do with it. Israel knows this. They lied. Ted keeps saying, "Oh, he misspoke," but there he plays all these faggot games about this, but they lied. They lied about that. Just so we're clear, to again further push us into a war that in no way serves America's interest.
he said that they had tried twice to kill him, and I don't know that I don't have any evidence that's true. But I sort of wonder if that is true. Why aren't we at war with them already?
Okay, and I read your newsletter this morning, and I thought it was playing word games to draw a political point.
How's that a word game? It's my president. And
Can I tell you?
Yeah, please.
Okay, you rightly pointed out there's no evidence that this clown in Butler, Pennsylvania, who shot the president was working for the Iranians. I don't think he was. There's no evidence of that.
But Israel said
although I
that-
would like to
that
know more
he was.
about
I agree.
who he was and what's
I
going
totally
on.
agree.
But I don't find it plausible that he was working for the Iranians. So, was that caused by the Iranians? No. But what is true, and what your newsletter didn't acknowledge, is it true or false that Iran is currently trying to murder Donald J. Trump and has paid hitmen to do so?
Well, that's the question, and I don't know the Butler, Pennsylvania thing.
Butler,
Let's
Pennsylvania
just put
wasn't-
that aside. I don't know.
So Netanyahu misspoke when he said those two assassinations were
Oh, so he misspoke, but Tucker was playing word games.
murder Donald J. Trump.
Is there okay? So you're aware of a
Yes.
plot to kill Trump?
Yes, that Iran is paying for. And by the way,
Wait, when
it has been over the last, I'd say, 18 months to 2 years.
in the United States?
In the United States, yes. They and let me point out,
Has anyone been arrested?
for the Trump attempted assassination, no, but they are also actively paying Iranian hitmen to murder Mike Pompeo when he was President Trump's first Secretary of State, the first term rather, John Bolton when John Bolton was National Security Advisor to President Trump, and a guy named Brian Hook who was Assistant Secretary of State.
Right.
During the Biden
Wait,
administration.
but hold on. Can we go back to Donald Trump because he's
No,
the
no,
president?
no,
No, it's a big deal. What do you mean? When no one has been arrested for these assassination
They have.
attempts on Trump,
Yes.
they've hired hitmen. How do we know that?
All right, let me break it down. People have been arrested. So the reason I brought up Pompeo, Bolton, and Hook, who are under active assassination attempts because of their service in the first Trump administration, under the Biden
Well, they
administration.
say that. I've never seen any evidence of it.
Can I
Maybe-
give you the evidence?
Well, let's just stick with Trump.
No, because these are interrelated. So let me make a bloody point. Under the Biden administration, the State Department was spending $2 million a month providing security for Pompeo, Bolton, and Hook. and they did arrest Iranian hitmen
Okay.
at John Bolton's apartment complex who rented, I think, the apartment next to him and were actively trying to assassinate him, and they went and arrested them. So, yes, they caught Iranian hitmen. Now, it so happens Iran's not very good at it. And so they are actively trying. And in fact,
But what about Trump? He's the president. If there's a plot to kill Trump by the Iranians,
okay, so
that's
you
a
dispute that the
huge
Iranians
deal.
are trying to kill Trump?
Of course. I mean, that's the most important question. The Prime Minister of Israel just said there have been 2 assassination attempts against Donald Trump by the Iranians. And I think it's a very fair question, maybe you disagree, to ask, what are you talking about?
Okay, and I agree with you that he misspoke.
So there weren't those 2 attempts?
There were 2 attempts, but the clown in Butler, Pennsylvania, and the other guy on the golf course
So
were
what
not
were the
connected
2
to the
attempts?
Iranians. That's the part that he misspoke. But by the way, when you speak all the time,
He misspoke, but Tucker was playing word games.
occasionally, what he said that was accurate is that Iran is actively trying to murder Donald J. Trump and has paid hitmen.
Okay, but okay, that's fine.
And he was
But where
conflating it with the 2 attempts.
I understand. But I just want to pull that thread because it's so important. I voted for Donald Trump. I campaigned for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
He's our president. And we're on the cusp of a war. So if there's evidence that Iran paid hitmen to kill Donald Trump and is currently doing that, where's that? Like, what are you even talking? I've never heard that before.
Okay,
Where's the evidence? Who are these people? Why haven't they been arrested? Why are we not at war with Iran?
that's a great question to ask.
How do you know that that's true?
We know that it's true because we have been told that by the military and our intelligence community for the last 2 years.
We meaning who?
Congress has and the public. I mean, we had multiple testimonies. I can send you
Do we
testimony.
know the names of the people or where this happened or what they tried to do to kill Trump?
We do not. We have not apprehended an Iranian hitman trying to kill him. We know that Iran is trying to do so.
In the United States?
Yes, and by the way, like Iran.
This just seems like a huge headline, and you're
Okay.
acting like everyone knows this. I didn't know that.
Iran put out a whole video about murdering Trump.
Right, but I've never heard evidence that there are hitmen in the United States. I mean, trying to kill Trump right now. We should have a nationwide dragnet on this, and we should attack Iran immediately if that's true. Don't you think?
No,
If
but
they're trying to assassinate our president,
they have been for 2 years.
then
They
why
are
aren't we
enemies.
at war with them?
Well, we are trying to.
Why don't we
think
just nuke Tehran if they're trying to murder our president? There's nothing that you...
I love this. This is brilliant what Tucker's doing. Tucker is doing, no, everyone knows that he's full of shit here. The Iranians were not behind assassinations attempts on President Trump. They are not. There's no credible evidence that they are attempting to assassinate President Trump. Tucker is saying, okay, you're saying that they are doing this. Show me the evidence, and if that's true, we should absolutely go to war with them. And he's right. If a foreign government, which, by the way, Israel killed Kennedy, but if a foreign government kills your president, that's undeniably an act of war, and you should go and beat the fucking brakes off them. So Cruz is saying, well, they tried to assassinate President Trump, and then Tucker's like, well, then I guess we should go to war. Well, no, we just need to give Israel lots of money because of it. Because Cruz knows this isn't true. He absolutely knows that this is all bullshit, and it's something he threw out there to try and win Tucker over, and Tucker is playing with him. He's rolling with him and saying, well, if that's true, we absolutely got to go kill him now. Well, no. I mean, Tucker's so good at this shit. Like, he's so good at this fucking shit.
You could do that would be worse for the United States than murdering Trump. And I just don't
Amen. I agree
understand
with
why
that.
you're not calling for the use of nuclear weapons against the Ayatollah right now. I'm serious. If you really believe they're
The
trying to
use
murder
of nuclear weapons. See,
whatever
that's part
it
of the
takes.
problem of. So
What do you mean? You don't seem to take the allegations seriously. I do. If you believe they're trying to murder Trump, we need to stop what we're doing and punish them.
Can I ask something? And I mean this sincerely. So, all right, 20 years ago, you were, I think it's fair to say, in the interventionist world. You were a vocal,
Big time.
You
Big
were
time.
a vocal defender of the Iraq War.
I was a promoter of the Iraq War.
And you now, and look, I think you were mistaken. I think you were mistaken. That's okay. Look, people change and learn, and that's part of the journey of being human. Your views have moved, though. In my view, they've gone way too far the other end. And so
I'm
just
totally
wanna ask
confused.
why.
I'm saying, hold on. Wait, this is one of the weirdest conversations I've ever had. I'm saying if it's true that Iran is trying to murder Trump, we need to move militarily against Iran immediately. That's not isolationism. That's that's a cult of violence, which
Basically, again, Tucker is just pointing out here that, like, you don't believe this, Ted. If you believe this, you would be even more hawkish. You don't believe this.
I am calling for. If we believe that Iran is trying to murder our president, we need to strike Iran.
Okay, but
And then
isolationists
you're
say things like, well, then just nuke them, which is what you just said, which is kind of a weird...
Because I'm upset, because I'm taking you seriously. You don't take your own statements
I
seriously.
take my statements very seriously.
So I've asked you, where's the evidence this is true? And you said, well, they're trying to assassinate Brian Hook or something, which I'm against, by the way. I'm against hurting any American, period, no matter...
So you dispute that they're trying to murder
I'm not disputing
Hook,
it at
Buffalo,
all.
and Bolton?
I'm not disputing
I mean,
it
they
at all.
literally arrested the hitman with Bolton.
I don't know why that's even relevant. I'm asking about the President of the United States.
Wait, it's not relevant that Iran
not
hired
relevant.
hitmen to murder cabinet members in Trump's administration? That doesn't go to
I've
how
already
credible
said
is it that they're
I'm
willing to spend money to do
totally
that?
opposed to that. It's awful. I am against killing anybody, actually, and
Okay, I'm
especially
not.
foreign government. Okay. I'm asking about your allegation and the Prime Minister of Israel's allegation that
Let me be
that
clear,
Iran
I'm
is trying to
emphatically for
murder the
killing our enemies.
president.
Killing terrorists is a good thing. Killing people who are trying to murder Americans is a good thing. Because if you're America first, you want to protect America. And so killing Osama bin Laden was a fantastic
But you don't
day
really
for the
believe
world.
that they're trying to murder Trump, or you?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Then why aren't you calling for military action against Iran right now?
Because they're not very effective. In terms of hitmen, their hitmen are not very effective. I do think...
Oh, so they're hitmen, but not the bad kind, the efficient kind?
No, they're
what are you
just,
saying?
they're a weak country who is on its knees, and I think we need to...
Then why are we so afraid of them? Why are they the biggest threat if they're a weak country that's on its knees?
Because they're trying...
I love this. Oh, so they're hitmen, but they're not serious hitmen. They're just goofy. They're goofy criminals, like Home Alone, which is send Kevin McAllister to put micro machines on the ground. That'll stop them. And it's like they're a weak country and on its knees. Then why are we afraid of them? Like, I love what he's doing here. I absolutely love it. This part of the interview is downright fun.
I'm trying to keep track.
They're trying to develop...
Trying to keep track.
Be a little less snarky.
I know, you're right. That is a problem that I have. I'm sorry.
They're...
He's so disarming too. He's just like, yeah, okay, yeah, you're right. I'm a bit of a snarky asshole. It still doesn't change the fact that you're looking like a fucking moron.
trying to develop nuclear weapons. They are close to developing nuclear weapons. And even a weak country with a nuclear weapon. Look, I believe there is a very real possibility if the Ayatollah develops a nuclear weapon that he would detonate it either in Tel Aviv or New York or Los Angeles. And that would be utterly catastrophic. And
That's
I don't know
for
what the
sure.
chances are of that.
In all fairness, Los Angeles, I'd kind of be okay with.
Let me compare and contrast Iran to North Korea.
Wait, can I just ask one last question about trying to
You
kill
can ask
the
any-
president? You sincerely believe, you promise, that right now the Iranian government is trying to murder our
Yes.
president?
You promise. You sincerely believe. You promise. Oh my God. Stop. He's already dead. Pinky swear. Oh God, I'm never getting through all this. Oh, we've been here 2.5 hours. Fucking hell. Come on, Chad. Give me some super chats, man. Holy hell.
You sincerely believe right now.
Absolutely.
And yet you are not calling for military action against the government that's trying to murder our president. Can you explain that?
That's the sound of a lie, by the way. That's the sound of... That's the sound of oh shit. Boy, I look really fucking stupid right now, don't I? I look like a fucking moron right now. Holy shit.
I don't think they're very effective. I do think we should, by the way, America is
You're willing to take that risk?
I think we should protect the president and we should take out our enemies.
Well, aren't
Israel
they,
is doing that right now.
But aren't they? Why would we outsource
And by
it to
the way,
Israel if
your
they're
first
trying
question
to?
was,
why
why
would
are
we
you
have
for
Israel
regime
do it?
change? That's a pretty good example of why I'm for regime change.
Okay, so you're saying we should just go in and take out the government of Iran. Why would we outsource it to Israel if they're trying to murder our president? Okay, you sound like the isolationist.
What I'm saying on any military judgment is there needs to be a cost-benefit analysis of what are the risks versus what are the benefits. In this instance, I think it is enormously in America's interest to do what Israel is doing right now, take out Iran's senior military leadership and take out their nuclear capacity. That is benefiting America, and it is a good risk-reward. I would oppose invading Iran and putting boots on the ground to topple the government. If the risk got severe enough, I would support that, but I think the relative risk is not severe.
So in other words, I oppose it now because it looks bad, but down the line I'll change my mind because AIPAC will make me change my mind. That's what he's saying right now, by the way. I oppose it now because it's so bloody unpopular, but then down the line I'm going to go ahead and support it.
Enough to justify that step at this time. What I would absolutely oppose under any circumstances is invading Iran and then staying and trying to turn them into a democracy. And part of where Iraq really went off the rails is not only did we topple someone who was fighting radical Islamic terrorists, who was a bad guy, but then we tried the vision of interventionists. It actually overlaps with the vision of a lot of Democrats. Let's go promote democracy in the world.
I agree.
And it is our military's job to kill the bad guys, to defend America. It's not their job to defend international norms. It's not their job. So I have zero desire for the U.S. military to turn Iran into Switzerland. Look, would it be nice if they suddenly became Switzerland? Sure. If I could wave a magic wand, great. But I'm not going to send your kids or my kids to be in front of guns.
Sadly, I think Switzerland's more likely to turn into Iran.
To make that happen.
Well, bless you for that. I think that is the lesson that I learned from Iraq. I promoted that war. Apparently, unlike you, I was dumber. And I think that you just articulated the main lesson of it, which is it's hard to do that, and we're not good at it. But
I will, and so we are agreeing on that. I will say as a
vehemently agreeing.
As a corollary, that doesn't mean that horrible evil dictators are okay. And going back to Reagan and the Cold War, we have lots of weapons. I am happy to highlight the brutality, the oppression, the human rights abuses of regimes, even though I don't want to invade them, because I think the bully pulpit of American leadership is really powerful. And I think dictatorships are terrified. So I've spent 13 years in the Senate. One of the things I do frequently is highlight dissidents in Iran and North Korea and China. In Venezuela, people are being tortured.
Oh, my God, I remember this part.
Miriam Ibrahim in Sudan, who was sentenced to 100 lashes and then to be killed for the crime of being...
Chad, I'm skipping ahead on this. So he goes on about some Christian martyr in fucking Sudan and how he defended her, and it's all some fucking horse shit. I mean, he probably did, like, fine, cool, but it's like this is all some horse shit to get us to support this dumb bullshit. God damn. Okay, let's skip ahead. I'm sorry, man. I wanted to go through all this, but let's skip ahead to some more good shit, and then we might wrap it up. I'm getting fucking tired of doing this, to be honest. And I get no super chats, and I am a whore. Let's get to the good shit.
Fallen. I would use economic sanctions and I would use moral suasion to try to effectuate
if you
regime
topple,
change.
okay, so you topple the regime by whatever means. What happens then? How many people live in Iran, by the way?
I don't know the population.
At all?
No, I don't know the population.
You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple?
This is the clip that went viral yesterday, by the way. And this is where, by the way, Ted Cruz, by the way, responds with the gay faggot Star Wars meme. He didn't even make that meme. Some other fucking neocon shithead did, and he just reposted it. The gay AI fucking Star Wars meme.
How many people live in Iran?
92 million.
Okay. Yeah,
How could you not know that?
I don't sit around memorizing population tables.
Well, it's kind of relevant because you're calling for the overthrow of the government.
Why is it relevant whether it's,
because,
it's 90 million or 80 million or 100 million? Why is that
because if
relevant?
you don't know anything about the country...
I didn't say I don't know anything about
Okay, what's the ethnic mix of Iran?
They are Persians and
What percent?
predominantly Shia. Okay.
I wanted to play that part. I think we're going to wrap it up. Chat says when they talk about Russia, it gets heated. It does, yeah. But I think I'm going to wrap it. So I've gone on for 2.5 hours, all right? And I didn't get no fucking super chats. And I am a whore. So I think we're going to wrap this up. Folks, if you enjoy the content I put out, do consider supporting the show. Streamlabs.com/thebacklog. And I think it was a pretty good show tonight, by the way. Streamlabs.com/thebacklog. Send me a super chat. I need super chats. I am fucking poor. And paypal.me/thebacklog. Send a super chat that way. And there's also the Amazon wish list I'll leave a link to below. And I need to edit one of the things that was on there. That's about it for tonight, folks. I want to thank you all for listening.